All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another RWISOA live webinar series. This happened to be the final one, week number 12. And let's see, we get this going here. We do have Paul on the line. Paul, how are you?
I'm great, Richard. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for stopping by. Julie, are you there? Do we have you?
I'm here. Hi, Richard.
Great.
Thank you for
Hello.
including us.
Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for accepting the invitation. So what we're going to do for the next 2 minutes, we just want to thank every single presenter for the past 12 weeks. You guys did a fantastic job. It was amazing. We were able to reach over 6,000 referees across the world. So the first week we had Brian Dunn with dealing with conflict. Thank you, Brian. Second week we had Robert Sabiga and Joe Matchnick, game management. Third week we had Tori Pensa with men's versus women's games. Thank you, Tori. For week 4 we have Rodolfo Otero, 2006 World Cup final assistant referee. We have match preparedness with Chico, and also that week we had Ryan giving us a brand new 2020 rules interpretation. The week right after that we had Caroline Chenard giving us an impressive detail of her refereeing life. It was amazing. Thank you, Caroline, for stopping by. For week 5, we also had Lance, who focused on concentration. Week 6, we had, it was our Huntington Disease Awareness Month webinar. We had Terry and Kim on. We had Ricardo Salazar, Gary Huber, Chip, and Phil. So thank you very much. The same day we had Corey Rockwell with communications and offside. For week 7 we had Rubiel and Jose giving us a quick presentation on the differences between the pro game and the college game. Thank you guys. The same day, the same week we had Essie giving us an amazing view of his refereeing career, starting back from the indoor game all the way through his the famous 1998 World Cup match that made him so famous. Thank you, Essie. We had Chris Penso the same day giving us an excellent presentation on angle of view versus distance. For week 8, we had mental traps by Donald Wilbur. Thank you, Don. The same day, we also had Dalibor with mental preparation and readiness. Dalibor, World Cup assistant referee in 2018 UEFA Champions League final assistant referee. Thank you, Dalibor. Thank you. Especially when you were giving the presentation with 3 o'clock your time, 3 o'clock in the morning. So we really appreciate that. For week 9, we had a perception versus reality. We had a few coaches and referees having a discussion, looking at some clips and trying to get their inside view from the coach's side, right? We all see the game from a different point of view, and we need to share that. That makes us that way we become better referees, makes us better referees. So thank you, Ben, Dan, Coach Alfio, Coach Tyler, and Brian for that amazing presentation for week 9. Also on week 9 we had Mark Can giving us a brand new presentation of handball. And for week 10 we had violent conduct versus violent behavior versus fighting by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Also in week 10 we had assistant referee involvement by Manny Ortiz. Amazing presentation. Thank you, Manny. That was on week 10. Also on week 11 we had another coaches referees with the topic communicating with coaches, how to do it, how to communicate with coaches in a good way. And we had Marist Division 1 coach Matt with us, and Dominican Division 2 coach Colin with us. Thank you, thank you. And we also had the uncles, Christina and Ted Uncle for week 11. It's been amazing. We thank you very much, RWISOA and everybody else that participated of these 11 weeks. They have nothing but good things to say, but all of you presenters. So thank you very much. How did we get here? Well, we started 12 weeks ago with a webinar we were expecting 10 to 15 people, and over 90 became out of this world. So for the past 12 weeks, we actually reached out to over 5,800 referees, plus the ones that are connecting today. So we're going to be way over 6,500 referees from 48 states, representing 88 NYSOA chapters and from 19 countries. We already have over 8,700 downloads of our videos, our webinars. It's been amazing. We thank you very much. And today is the last one. So it's the last one of the RWISOA, but the beginning of an era for NYSOA. Tomorrow, we're going to have Lance in a little bit talking about tomorrow, the beginning of NYSOA, the online series. It's amazing. Just a quick overview of who we are. RWISOA with the Rockland Westchester chapter, NYSOA chapter. Information about our chapter, go to our website, rwisoa.org. As I mentioned earlier, we're a NYSOA chapter. Any information about how to become a NYSOA college official, visit nysoa.com, nisoa.com. And if it wasn't for the NYSOA Foundation Fund, we wouldn't have any of this great webinars. So thank you, NYSOA Foundation Fund. You've been great to us. So today we're going to have with us Paul Tamberino, NYSOA Hall of Fame, 4 times MLS Referee of the Year, ECSR co-founder, and much more. We're going to ask him later to spend some time sharing his past, his present, and his future. Also, we have Julie from OSI. She's going to give us a little update about OSI products, and they're always helping us out behind the scenes, doing everything to make us look good. So thank you, Julie, for everything you guys do. We're going to have JohnCollins giving us 2 presentations, one about college assigning, so you get to know the inside of how the assigners actually do the assigning and what is their role between the conferences and the referees. And then he's going to give us a presentation about refereeing is thinking. And Lance is going to stop by once again, and he's going to share all the updates about NYSOA. So just a couple of quick reminders. Show is being right now is being played on Facebook Live. So for those of you that have friends and can't log in, tell them to go to our Facebook page and they can see what's happening. Quick reminder, questions, use the section question on the webinar, or send us the questions to rwisoa@gmail.com. So, Julie.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great, Richard. How are you?
Great. The floor is all yours. What do you have for us?
Thank you. Well, first, I just want to say how humbled and honored we are that we were invited. I just watched your previous 11 weeks of presenters, and that's like the A team. So you had some, true, dignitaries in the referee world. So we're very honored, that you reached out to us, to include us in this. So, and we want to take this opportunity to update you guys in what has transpired, the new products that we've brought in since the pandemic, and as we all move forward and look forward to getting back out on the field, some things that we wanted everybody to be aware of that we've been doing. And the first and foremost is that we have started selling face masks. So washable, 100% polyester with the nose guard pinch, pockets for filters. So if this is going to make our referees comfortable on the field, we wanted to make sure that we had the product that was most available to you. Also, the proceeds of this face mask, we're donating to the Gary Sinise Foundation. So it's something that we can do. The Gary Sinise Foundation provides PPE equipment, financial help to first responders, healthcare, the people that have been out, really on the front lines for the past couple of months. So it's, twofold. What can we do to protect our customers, our referees that we care about, and how can we give back? So that's just one thing. And then the second thing, that goes hand in hand if you're wearing a face mask is you need an electronic whistle. So this is actually the Windsor electronic whistle. We've carried it for a number of years. It was primarily used in indoor. I'm sure all you guys are familiar with it. It's got a 3-tone. We are also constantly looking for, if this trend continues, what are some other products that you might need? And I think that's kind of been the hardest thing for us these past couple months. We're so used to being out on the field or out at events. So we get that one-on-one referee feedback. So if anyone listening, says, hey, here's an idea, or other, this is my favorite electronic whistle, please, connect with us on social media, OSI at officialsports.com. We have built our business listening to you and serving your needs. So, it's a little bit more of a challenge when we've all been, in lockdown and not able to do that one-on-one. But we still have been doing everything that we can to stay connected. And one last little tip. I'm not sure if people saw this, but while we've had this extra downtime with soccer not being played, we've been cleaning out our warehouse. So we do have some items that are on clearance. So if you're looking, like I said, if you're getting ready to get back on the field, there's some product there. Again, you get some deals, pro kits. We're trying to do everything that we can to help people as we get ready to be back. So lastly, thank you again. We appreciate it. I look forward to any questions or feedback, and I hope everything goes well for this webinar. Very impressive. You guys have done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for your support behind the scenes too. We gave away some stuff the past 11 weeks, and we ran out of some goodies. So we reached out to you, and I know I talked to Scott today. He's been doing a great job behind the scenes. So for all of you that are listening, that had questions about your stuff arriving, everything is on its way. I receive all the trackings, so everything is on its way. So thank you, OSI, for everything you do. And
you're welcome.
And what we're gonna do is just, well, have you here. I'm gonna tomorrow, while we do the replay on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, we'll give away a $50 gift certificate, OSI gift certificate. So we'll be in contact later. So to figure out how we're gonna do this, we're gonna get one person and give him a $50 gift certificate. We'll take care of that.
Wonderful.
That will be from RWISOA.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you for everything.
Bye.
All right. So that was Julie from OSI. Looking for questions here, and I don't see any questions. So why don't we move on? If any questions popped up later, then we'll send an email to Julie, and she'll get back to all of you in no time. They're good at with great customer service. So who do we have next? Well, Paul. Paul is waiting there online. So we're gonna bring him right in. Right after Paul, we have Lance, and then John with two presentations. So a reminder again, questions for the presenters. Use the question section. Type your question, then we'll open your mic, or send us an email to rwisoa@gmail.com. And again, another reminder, we are live right now on Facebook, live on our page. So, Paul, we have you. Sorry, we missed you last time. I'm sorry. Apologize. Some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But we finally have you. As I mentioned before, you have too many titles. You've been around for so long. I'm just gonna throw these two titles there, and then you can move on from there. You can take it from there. You are one of the elite college soccer referees co-founders, and you are a 4-time MLS referee of the year, and it's only one more referee to share that with you, correct? It's only two after all these years. And you're also an ECSR Hall of Fame. Am I wrong? Am I right?
That's correct. Yes.
Correct. And it's been amazing. We had so many Hall of Famers stopping by to say hello. So we really appreciate that. I hate to say this, but the old, the new, and the future, right? We all together sharing the same values, right? So, Paul, before we start, let me share a little something here. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
Those were the days. And that was a tough one, too. That was not an easy game that day. You had a lot of game management to do on that one. Do you remember any of this?
I remember quite a bit of it. I remember, had to have a discussion with Stoichkov um, early in the, throughout the game, about his antics. And there's really a great picture of him and I walking up the field, and I have my arm around him, and he has his arm around me, and we're talking. And I said, uh, basically what I said, Risto, I respect you as a player. Please respect me as a referee. And he goes, oh, okay. So it was a great conversation, great atmosphere. Peter Novak and I actually still have conversations when we get together. He swears that I missed a foul leading to the goal, but it's
20 years later.
20 years later, yeah, 20 years later, and then Peter's down here in Florida as well. I don't see him, that often, but he's a good friend. So it's good to have that banter back and forth.
Great. So we really appreciate that. All right. So that game was you had Laurie with you, right? Craig Laurie with you on that game.
Yeah, Craig and I, worked a lot of games together along with Rob Faraday and I, and all the ARs were terrific, and they still are terrific, and don't get me wrong. But just like when they made those, later on, when they made the teams and everything else, it was those two guys were solid. I've known them for decades, and they saved my butt a number of times, and we just clicked. So it was good to have those guys in a lot of my games, along with many other assistant referees as well.
Yeah, that's great. Great memories. Good times. All right. I know you want to share some stuff with us.
Yeah, there's a couple
right
things.
ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to share, and you have a great audience, and this is such a terrific thing that RWISOA have done. First thing to mention is, and you mentioned, is about the MLS referee. There is one other person that it shares for. Mine were consecutive. Mine were 4 years in a row, which is quite an accomplishment for, I think, anybody. And the other thing that I like to mention is I was a FIFA assistant referee. And back in the day, it was, by FIFA saying that you had to referee more games as an assistant referee than a referee. And I was an exception to the rule. MLS wanted me to blow the whistle more than I wanted to be an assistant referee. And off the top of my head, I think there's only one game that I was an assistant referee, and that was in the 1996 final. So all my games were by whistles or fourth officials. But again, that was an exception to the rule made by MLS and by U.S. Soccer, that I would continue to be a referee. So that was one of the different things, back in the day. So and it is different. It is the same today. The only thing is that there are separate roles, and that's what they do. But so I just wanted to mention that before we get on to the the elite college soccer referee thing. So
Great. ECSR. You co-founded ECSR with Steve and Manny and Roger.
Yes.
A few years back. Would you like to share with us why you feel the need to create another organization and how we benefit from that? Because he's been great. So I really want everybody to hear that from you guys.
Well, there was really no discussion between us. We would see each other at the convention, and there was really no discussion to say we want to start another organization until our top conferences wanted more for the referees that were in their conference. So, you know, in the case in point was the ACC. When I met with my boss, and he said, look, he says, we need more education, we need more evaluation, we need more hands-on training for referees for our conference. That came along with the Big Ten, wanted the same thing. That came along with Conference USA and Big 12, and you know, and Rogers Conference is the Big South. You know, so we sat down at a convention in Baltimore, and we decided to create this group. So it really came from our conferences. It didn't come from us to upset the current, you know, landscape as it is now. It mainly came from our conferences to say, look, you know, we need more, because in the past, you know, before I took over the ACC, you know, there was not a whole lot of going on in regards to education and instruction. It's much better now on both organizations. So, and our organizations are, I mean, our conferences now are very supportive. Where, you know, we have individual, you know, clinics for certain conferences, and you know, they support us. They you know, fund some of it. So it's you know, they're very you know, hands-on when it comes to soccer, not just, you know, the big revenue sports, but soccer as well, because, you know, those conferences get a lot of exposure. You know, for instance, back in, you know, when some of us were refereeing back in the day, there was, the only thing that was on television was College Cup. So now if you know, when the college season starts, you know, with ESPN and live streaming, everything is on television now, you know. So you know, they invest a lot of money in our sport, which is great. It's always good to see. And I'm not talking about just the big conferences. I'm talking about, you know, just college soccer in general, where they see this as maybe not as a revenue sport like basketball and football, but at the same time, it has a lot of attention. So so this is the, you know, the reasons why we did this.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great because it really forced everybody else to do a better job, and I think now working together when NYSOA and ECSR, we actually covering larger ground and giving better education to our referees. So it's a win-win for everybody. Can I have your website up? I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can find the conferences here. We can talk a little bit about the different conferences and the areas that the ECSR covered, if you don't mind.
No, so we have over 20 conferences in our group. You know, we have a lot of Division I, we have some Division III, we have Division IIs, and we have you know, NAIA. You know, so you know, we basically run from, you know, the Midwest east. You know, we go as far as Denver, I think west. We have you know, schools in Dallas and Tulsa, and Oklahoma. You know, but most of our schools are, you know, from the Midwest east. So you know, we have a wide gamut of you know, of divisions, and so and you know, we continue to grow. You know, so you know, we want to you know, spread our organization. You know, we want to, you know, increase it more. We want to have local assigners come in and join us. They can be, if you're a local assigner, you can join our group. You're covered by our insurance. So you don't have to worry about buying your own insurance. You're covered under ours. We have an incentive program that whatever member you bring in, you get 10% of the membership that comes in. So, you know, we're looking to expand. Our conferences are extremely happy with the work that we do. You know, we attend meetings every year. You know, we give them highlights of what we do, what we've been doing, and what we continue to do. So over 20 conferences, and you know, it's growing more and more.
Great. And you have like over 60% of the Division I conferences are being assigned by ECSR assigners, correct?
That's about the right number. It's, could be, a little less, a little more, but that's about the right number. We have 2,000 members in our group. And they're all covered by our insurance as long as they register, and insurance is the big thing for sure. And now, we're requiring background checks because some of our conferences want background checks. And we negotiated a deal where obviously if you go through the NCAA, we will accept that. But if you go through, it has to go through Arbiter, and we negotiated a deal where it's a very small fee to be, to be accepted. And the reason that, we cannot accept U.S. Soccer's, which is a good background check. Don't get me wrong. None of these are bad. We don't accept the high school thing is because our conferences need to, if they need to go to Arbiter and say, okay, is Richard Rodriguez, does he have his background check? And they can't do that through U.S. Soccer's website. They can't do that through high school website. So as much as the questions that we get, why is it not accepted? That's the reason, because our conferences have access to the Arbiter.
That's good to know. I know you have some observers, not assessors, observers. Some people from different areas that either you may want to send them for specific games to get feedback from the officials, but you also have like a small program where an official can request an observer, correct? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. We did this, and again, the assessor program in both organizations, whether it be U.S. Soccer, whether it be NISOA, is just, it's just too large. So our group got together and say, okay, let's come up with a group of observers that we feel that can serve, the college game, that are refereed in the college game, understand the college game, and observe the college game and give feedback on the college game. So these observers, we have it limited to a small number. We didn't want a large number of observers, and no disrespect to any other assessor out there, no disrespect whatsoever. They're all good people. They're all knowledgeable, but these people that we handpicked, we feel that can serve our group better, because we get requests all the time of how can I referee? I want to be a referee. I want to blow the whistle. And this is the program. So we've had a number of people take advantage of our program. Some have succeeded and went from whatever they were refereeing to ACC and Big Ten, and others remained stagnant, so they could only do this type of game. They didn't feel they're ready for the top level games. So it's a double-edged sword, if you think you're very, very good and want to try this program, then I suggest you undertake it. But the reality is that you may not get the feedback that you're looking for. So you hear coaches all the time. You hear feedback from other people say, coaches saying my job is on the line every game. Well, as an assigner, and if anybody out there is an assigner, every game you assign, your job is on the line. So we don't like to take chances, even though sometimes I do. But I think for some of you that know me, I'm a one and done guy. If I'm going to put you out there and I put my trust in you, and this is a game that you've been refereeing for 20 or 15, 20, 25 years, you can't make the mistakes that you make, because that's a reflection on me and on you. So we take this very seriously. And this is why, some of the conferences that have whistles, the group is very small, because we know we're going to get the consistent performance out of those referees. So that's the observer program. You contact the observer, you send them an email. The fee is set at $200 plus expenses if you want that observer to travel. And I've had referees saying, well, look, I don't want to, I don't want to spend $200. Well, you just made $350 on a game, and you have another, 30 games coming. So, $200 is really not, if you want to get to the Big Ten, to the Big 12, where the game fees are over $400. So, it all comes down to, how much you really want to do the games.
So yeah, to get your games, basically, everybody thinks they need to be a superstar, right? A World Cup referee. But the truth is, what you're looking for mainly is to be available, right? And to be open to criticism, right? That way they can develop with you. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just like even the U.S. soccer organizations. It's the exact same thing. You have to be available. You have to be professional. You have to be fit. And as you said, Richard, you need to be open for criticism. We had a referee come down to the spring tournament in the ACC 2 years ago. He's a good referee. He is a good referee. Don't get me wrong. But when I spoke to the coaches after the game, he says, he could probably work non-conference, but he has no mobility. These games in Division I don't care what conference it is, Division I, Division II, the game is so fast and you have to be mobile. Not that he wasn't fit, but he wasn't mobile. And you need to have that mobility to get from coast to coast. And Chris Penzo's thing about the angle thing was terrific, and distance. And this is what you need to do in our game. So when I gave him the feedback, he was very hurt. He was hurt, and he called me up, like 3 days later, and he says, "Hey, Tambo, no one has ever told me that." And this guy is a good referee. He does a lot of games for me. He's successful, but when you get to that top division, the Power 5, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, you're under a microscope every single game. You'll get the phone calls. We'll get the phone calls, and that's why we need to be open to criticism.
The worst thing, excuse me, Richard, the worst thing that happened to officials in every sport is TV. The cameras are so much better now. It shows everything. And, this is why we are under a microscope every single game we do, because all I do is, and Steve and any other assigner on this, Division III, you'll get these clips of decisions that they feel that you've gotten wrong or you did get wrong. So it's the worst thing that ever happened to us, but it's the nature of our game now.
Well, the way I look at it is you can actually look at yourself the day after and use the game as a learning opportunity. Become better.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It is what it is. If you don't mind, may I play this video here, because I'm so intrigued. If I can get your insight, may I?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And this has to do with what we're talking about now, movement and urgency. I don't know if you can see it well.
Yeah, it's all good. I see it. Yep.
If you don't mind talking a little bit about it.
This is one of the issues we have. I'm talking about, all the referees in this country. And I put it this way, obviously it's not all, but, even the coaches feel that we treat the women's game differently. And, you can see by the referee here, he's flat-footed, the ball is played. These are talented players, you can tell. And he stands flat-footed, and he's 24 yards away from play, so he can't judge, even though he should judge that this is clearly a foul, because she comes from behind and gets the player before she gets the ball. So, you hear Alfred Klonitis and a lot of, from years and years and years ago, I got the ball. Well, it doesn't matter. It's how you got the ball. And this player clearly goes through the player to get the ball. And the other thing that's fascinating to me is that he looks to his AR, who is, 60 yards away, to see if the ball is at a play where he should be much closer, because for one, there's an attack on the ball. There's a challenge on the ball, and he's standing flat-footed. And this is the things that we get from coaches, saying, well, how can this happen? How can the referee be so far play? How can the referee not see that this is a foul? And we take this game a little too lightly, and I'm pretty sure, Tori touched on this, or Christina Uncle touched on this, of how we approach the women's game. And this is very, very unfortunate. This could be the game winner. And this is where coaches say my job is on the line, because coaches need to get to 500 percentage points before they're considered for postseason play. And this game right here could keep them out.
Yeah, this is when you're going to get the phone call, correct?
This is when I'm going to get the phone call.
And can you explain a little bit that relationship between, because people they don't understand that you're actually working, you're like the bridge between us, the referees, and the conference, right? And they put you, when this happens, you in a bad place. So would you mind to explain a little bit that relationship, how it works?
Look, I have, if the people used to know me as a referee, I'm a people person. I'm a player's referee. And the same thing with the coaches. I will not defend you if I can't. I will not, because that's my reputation on the line. So when I get a phone call from this coach, I will say the referee got it wrong. That's a foul. That's not a goal. And I will tell him everything I just told all of you. He's not in the position. He's got a clear view. And I would be reluctant to put this referee back in the middle if he cannot judge this as a foul.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's tough. Would you, when you have a conversation with the referee, if this is let's say second time or something like that, would you send them an observer, or what? How do you go from here? I mean, because it's difficult. People don't understand that we are at the top level. This is the top level. The ones above us are the pro referees, right? So the ones that you assign are the top referees. Anybody above us will be a pro referee. So can you explain what is it that you do? What goes through your head when this happens?
I would send this clip to the referee and have him explain his view of what he sees at the time. I will only send it to him initially. Then I will send it to my colleagues. I'll send it to Steve. I'll send it to Manny. Sometimes I will go to pro, depending on if it's really dubious of the decision. I'll send it to Mark Geiger and Alex Proust to get their opinion. But in this particular play, I would send it to the referee, have him come back to me with his views of it. I would also send it to the crew after I get the opinion of the referee. I will send it to the crew, and just to get their opinion of it as well, because they're a team at the time. Because I'm pretty sure they discussed this after the game, because they got a lot of slack after this decision. And then I will have a phone call with the referee, depending on what his answer was. And so if his answer was to say, yeah, Tambo, for me, it's not a foul, then I would have a very harsh, decision saying, I'm very reluctant to put you back in the middle of another game if you don't think this is a foul. If he says, I think it's a foul, looking at it now, it's a foul, and I will say, okay, well, this is your freebie. You can't have another decision like this. If you do, I cannot put you back on another game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
and
fair.
The other thing, Richard, here's the other thing. If every coach in this conference is watching this game, so they're analyzing this game, and I've had coaches pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Paul, this guy, don't send me this ref. Don't send me this ref," because they don't want decisions like this. If he can't call this as a foul, then what is a foul? So they watch all the games. They watch every single game.
Now you touched a good point here. Each conference is different, right? Like the IB, for instance, the ones that referee the IB, we know that each game is a final, right? Because
Yes.
at the end of the season, whoever is on top is going to automatically go through for the tournament, NCAA tournament. Now, how you? I know that you have different levels of referees, right? So your top conference will be, I assume, the ACC, correct?
Well, there's to be quite honestly, yes. But see, this is the difference between some of the conferences. I have two conferences that fly referees. All the other conferences have to remain local. So they don't fly referees. The Ivy does not fly referees. The MAC does not fly referees. Patriot does not fly referees. So you're limited to a geographical area, depending on how far the referee wants to travel. So this year will be different. The Big East will not fly referees. So they will be restricted to fairly local referees. They split the division, the conference into 2 divisions, West and East. The ACC have not heard from yet. The Big Ten, Steve has not heard about the Big Ten, and the Big 12, Manny has not heard about the Big 12. So, so some of it will be, geographical, where we send referees. I may send a referee from Delaware up to Princeton, or maybe up to Marist, or maybe up to Manhattan. Then we always have, different areas, like Lehigh and LaSalle and Bucknell that are, pretty up there, so, and then in the America East, I've got Maine. So, so it's like, will referees want to travel up that way, so, for the limited mileage that they're going to get. So, so every conference is different in regards to how I assign.
Yeah, that brings us to a good point. Have you thought of what are going to be your points of emphasis for the 2020, since we don't know where we are today with conferences?
Well, the biggest thing, and you have all seen the rule changes. We actually have this 2 weekends ago, Manny and I went up to Jacksonville and did some filming on the rule changes, which we were going to put on our website and send to our coaches first. So they're even though they look at them and everything, but we put some legal plays, illegal plays, and things in there, so we can be better prepared. I can be better prepared, not just the referees and the coaches. But one of the biggest points of emphasis that we want, and we've been talking about this for a number of years, and that's the bench control. And we just don't get this from what we see. We don't get this necessarily from our administrators. We get this from administrators on site, how one coach can behave the way they behave, and the other coach behaves in a very responsible manner. So coaches, the administrators don't understand how some coaches can get away with and the referees don't do their job. And I think everybody on this call who's been in a clinic with me, I say this all the time, and I'll repeat it now. I do not want a coach sent off. I don't. But we need to eliminate the constant bickering, the constant badgering of referees' decisions or lack of decisions, by coaches, assistant coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, trainers. It goes on and on. How many people are going to yell at you before you take action? And it only takes a word. And you had a presentation. I apologize, who did it, about dealing with coaches. It only takes a word. It only takes a word. Say, coach, you cannot behave like this. And this is going to be a big point. And I know it's a big point with the NCAA. I've had discussions with Ryan, and I've had discussions with Ken Anders. And I'm going to make it a point this year that if I get a complaint from an AD, or if I get a complaint, from an administrator, you will lose games. I will take a game away from you.
All right, so you heard that right here at the RWISOA webinar. Paul, if he gets a complaint from the coaches that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're gonna be penalized. Great, I love it.
It's only fair, and this is part of the issue that coaches have. They get a player sent off, unjustly. The referee has a bad angle. It's just the way it is. It's no fault of the referee, but the referee has a bad angle. That the protest will not hold up, and the coaches say, I lose a player or I lose one of my assistant coaches. What is the accountability of the referee? There is no accountability. They referee the next day. They referee the next week. So I don't want to take games away from referees. I don't. But you have You have to really perform at a top level for these referees, and it's difficult. I mean, for these coaches, it's difficult because we're doing Division 1, we're doing Division 2, we're doing Division 3, we're doing high school. You know, you're doing 7, 8, 10 games a week. Believe me, I get it, ladies and gentlemen. I really do get it. But when a situation like the clip we just saw happens, there has to be accountability. There just has to be.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. So that would be one of the points of emphasis for I think pretty much everybody, because we all wanna have some responsible behavior coming out of the benches, even though sometimes it has to do with the way we do things too, right? So it's not just all about coaches, right?
And you know, the other thing, Richard, is that look, this is a rule change year, and even though most of the referees on this call have been, you know, refereeing this, you know, the rule changes by FIFA for a year now, you know, we're gonna have big problems this year. We're gonna have big problems this year, and the lack of knowledge of the rules is not gonna go, because the coaches, the administrators, you know, I have suspended referees. I took referees off of games, but I've had 3 conferences suspend referees, you know, because of lack of knowledge of the rules. So, you know, we know at NC, you know, Ken Andrews knows, Ryan knows, we know, every assigner out there knows that we know there's going to be problems with the rule changes. We know it. So we just need to stay focused. We need to, you know, review those rule changes every time before the game. Before the game, you review them. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to, so we don't have a debacle and have referees saying, you know, coaches saying, oh, great, the referees don't know the rules again.
Great. You know that we have JohnCollins joining the call now. Hi, John. Let's see if we have his mic open. Hi, John.
Hello.
How are you?
Well,
Talking
I
about
couldn't agree more with Tambo. Let me just say that.
well, I have
Back at you.
I have no choice, John. Let me ask you, well, I have you here, Paul, especially with the new rule on handling, right? Where, and I asked this throughout the whole webinar for the past 12 weeks, I've been asking the same question. Can we give the referees tips how to manage that behavior? They're gonna be attacked, like, you know, I'm not talking about physically, but they're gonna be questioned, especially when you're gonna make a decision in one end. It's not gonna be handball, right? But yet it looks like handball, and the exact same play on the opposite side, by the attacking player, it's gonna be handball, and you're gonna take the goal away. Can you give us some tips on how to manage that behavior?
You know, it's, you know, look, FIFA, I know FIFA does a lot of, you know, they have obviously lots of discussion on rule changes. I know that, you know, and God bless them. They have a very difficult time, you know, but in my opinion, this interpretation or this law change, or, you know, it's more of an interpretation. It's just clouded the view of a lot of people. It's still going to be a subjective type of situation where it's a handball or not a handball. And, you know, and look, I put something on Facebook 2 years ago as a conversation starter, and this will never happen in my lifetime. But if you look at the fouls that are dictated by FIFA and US Soccer and, you know, and CAA, all the fouls that result in direct free kicks are contact, player to player. Correct me if I'm wrong, could be wrong, except the handball. So if handballs were indirect, we'd have a lot less controversy of what happens as a result of a handball. So, you know, I think it would be so much easier for referees if the handball was indirect free kick. You would get more free kicks. You wouldn't get penalty kicks that result in a goal. You can write the law any way you want about, you know, denying the goal and all that. Write it any way you want. But again, this is something that's out of the box. FIFA has done stuff out of the box before, and but again, this will never happen in my lifetime. But as a referee and the referees on this call, they make their life so much easier, so much easier. This is just going to make things so much more difficult.
Yeah, we're gonna have to manage. We're gonna have to manage behavior more than ever before, and that puts us into another thing that you do very well. You did it throughout your career and as an instructor, and it has to be with being practical versus technical, right?
Yeah.
You prefer everybody to be more practical than technical, and to some sort of find a balance between the two, right? To become a good referee for that game. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Practicality?
Every game is different. Every game is different. Whatever whoever's assigning, every division is different. We talked about this in our camps before. Between a rival, you have a rival team. Princeton, Rider, Marist, whoever that is. UNC Duke, Army Navy. All those games have to be refereed. Smartly. And there's an art to assigning. You just don't, and I think John can attest to this. You just don't put referees out there and say, okay, well, this guy's available, I'm gonna put him out there. No, you got to put the right referee for the right mix of the game. And then there are some people that are very practical, and there are some people that are more rule book. And when I assign games, depending on the two teams, sometimes you need a rule guy. You need somebody who's like, strict by the book, where other times, says, okay, well, we need somebody that can manage the players in the game. So this is part of knowing your referees. I can't speak for John, but I know when I put referees on games, there's some thought process that goes into it. And there's sometimes I take chances. To try this fresh face out to see if they can handle it, and then I know. But it's still the game where they want practical refereeing instead of technical refereeing for sure. But they want technical refereeing when it deserves to be technical. If it's a red card, it's a red card. You can't manage violence. You can't manage a headbutt. So that's clear what coaches want, and I think that's across the board.
That's great. That's great. Anything else on your point of emphasis for 2020, Paul?
Well, obviously, violence. With the NCAA coming out with violent 1 and violent 2. I think that will still be an issue for Ken. Because referees will, judge it accordingly. They will do what they want to do and write it the way they want to write it. So violence is obviously, an issue. And the other thing is not just violence, just the dangerous tackles. I have a Division III conference in Western Pennsylvania, and when I was interviewing, the commissioner said, he said, look, this is what we want. We want the language out of the game, and we want the rough tackles out of the game. So I went to the referees and say, this is what you want. This is what the commissioner wants. This is what the conference wants. This is what you have to do. So the first year, there was like multiple red cards. And coaches were complaining, and the commissioners just supported the referees and said, look, we cannot have this type of behavior in our game. And they're happier than a pig in poop, They're playing soccer, they're enjoying the game. Of course, we get red cards, but that's the nature of our game. But the violence has to be, the rough tackles have to be out of our game as well. You have to remember these kids, and they are kids, by the way. You may say they're semi-professional, and maybe they are, but you have to remember they're playing a 12-week season. They're playing 3 games in 8 days. And, one coach told me last year that, he said, Paul, the thing is that we're under so much pressure, we have to win. And we will win no matter what it takes. So if you have a star player, we will take that player out any chance we can. That's the nature of our beast, and we have to recognize that and protect that player. All players, but we have to protect and get that dirty play out of our game. We have to.
Definitely, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Paul Tamberino on the call with us. We're going over some of the points of emphasis for the ECSR and pretty much, I would say, pretty much every conference out there for the 2020 season. We talked about team officials, violent behavior, abusive language. So we're gonna ask Paul a couple more questions, and if you have a question, write it on the question section on the webinar or email it to us at rwisoa@gmail.com. We're gonna be opening up the microphones very shortly. Paul, I have a question. Someone who doesn't have a mic, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. He wants to say hello to you. He joined ECSR last year from Maryland, and he would like to know, other than that, what does he have to do, or what can he do to start getting games?
Our pool, our pool is really big, and depending where you live, you live in the Mid-Atlantic region of the Baltimore, Virginia, DC area. I personally have a lot of games there. So he needs to reach out to me, send me an email, say, look, I just joined. The other thing is that I asked for a game log. I asked for a college game log. No disrespect to the Development Academy, no disrespect to USL. I still think they're great avenues for soccer, but it's not college soccer. So so this is what I'll ask for. Then we also have to understand this year is a extremely difficult time for us this year. With COVID-19. Believe it or not, I have schedules, but they're all going to change. They will all change starting probably next week, where they will change from day, they will change to time. This has affected everything. It has affected game fees. It has affected travel. So there'll be situations where referees will not be available once I put the real schedules in, and John can attest to that too. Things will change. We don't know if there's going to be locker rooms. We don't know how the ball boys are going to be handled. We don't know how the benches are going to be handled, because if the players have to be 6 feet apart on the bench, they will be down to the goal line. So we don't know how any of this is going to work. So we just have to sit tight. We'll try to get as many people the games that they can, but that's my advice, Richard. Have them contact me with a game log, and we'll see if we can get on games.
Very good.
Hey, Tambo, can I jump in for a sec?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so to help, at Paul's level with, the elite matches, the Division I matches, outside of, what Paul just described, the very best thing you can do to work your way up on the college side is to work really hard for whatever assignment you have when no one's looking. Because trust me, you will build an experience base and you will build credibility at the college side. And that's what Paul's looking for. And at a certain point, you'd be foolish to think that he doesn't have people out there that he relies on to give recommendations when they do a good job. And I'm probably one of them, and if that person's from Maryland, who those people down there. So I think if you be patient, especially this year, right, Tambo, because who knows what we're going to have, and we're just going to try to survive and get through and hit the reset button, right? My advice is on the college side, just really build your experience. People talk, assigners talk, senior referees talk, administrators talk a lot. And outside of promoting yourself, your performance and your behavior will speak volumes, and you will get those opportunities as they come. But just work hard, really hard.
So like I mentioned before, make yourself available to pretty much everything out there. You need to be open to criticism, right? And just work hard. Just work hard. During the game, just make believe it's just a World Cup final, because You never know who's going to be watching that game. Could be Paul, right?
I watch a lot of college soccer during the season. Not just my conferences either. I watch a lot of college soccer.
And you never know. And the truth is, you never know when Paul is going to show up to one of your games, right? It happened to me. Paul's supposed to be somewhere in the Caribbean somewhere, and instead he happened to be right there at Yale. He showed up at halftime. So let me talk. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about where you like to see the guys showcase their talent, right? Just like players, referees do showcase their talents, and there's some tournaments, some competitions that I know ECSR likes to go to look for new talent. I know that used to go to the old Soccer Fest down in Fort Wayne, but that's long going. But now I know you like to visit the college club regionals and finals. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we do. Again, it's nothing against U.S. soccer tournaments or local tournaments or anything. But again, we're looking for referees who referee college games. If I'm free to go to Delaware for Jeff Conteric's tournament, the Region 1 club championships, I go there. In the last 2 years, we've been to the NERSA, the national finals for the club soccer. One was in Foley, Alabama, and the other one was in Austin, Texas. And believe it or not, you can say what you want to say about club soccer, but some of these schools are very, very good, very, very good. They compete, and some of the referees can't handle them, and some of them do very well. So, the first year I went to Foley, Alabama, I pulled 5 referees out of there, and they all work ACC now for me. Not whistles, but lines and fourth officials. So, we're always looking for talent, always. Some of us assigners do talk together. Look, some assigners want to keep it tight-lipped, and I understand that because they don't want their top referee going to maybe not going to Manny or to Steve or something like that. But I always, if a referee has another calls me up and says, "Hey, look, I got a middle for JohnCollins. Can I turn this line back?" Absolutely. Work the better game. Absolutely. I have no issues with that. Just try to give me a little time. So don't call me an hour before the game. So.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Just to make a point again, every single game you need to treat it as a World Cup final because you never know who's going to be there watching you. It could be regionals, right? U.S. Soccer regionals. Paul, Manny, John, any of the assigner could be there watching the game. College club soccer. That's a great to us at RWISOA. We use it as a great platform to develop the new referees. So people think of club soccer as a low-level soccer game, but the truth is they have very good players, excellent players, and they're pretty close to amateur games. So that's a great environment for to develop, game management techniques, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think about that, Paul?
No, I got to tell you, it was. We were in Delaware maybe 3 years ago, and there was Fordham. Actually, it was Fordham playing University of Delaware, and the referee started that very well, and he didn't finish very well. And we were all watching the game. John McCloskey, Jeff Gonteric, Rob Faraday, myself. We were all watching because we knew what was going to happen. We knew if we could just see it, and a big fight broke out. Parents were fighting on the touch lines. It was bizarre. And and this is what, again, the referee did a good job up to a certain point. He wasn't recognizing what was going on off the ball, and if these players, they're in school, so it's not like there's DC United wasn't out there watching him or anything, so it got out of hand, and the referee didn't recognize it. So some of these games are very, very good and challenging, and even the ones that aren't very challenging, there's everything that happens in the game because maybe the talent isn't as good as it is in some of the other games. So what happens? things happen.
Great. Great. Let's see if we can open up. Any other points of emphasis that you want to talk about, Paul?
No, that's it right now. I mean, just please study the rules, please, and be ready for the college season when it starts, whenever it's going to start, please.
All right, great. Let's see if we can find Dan here. Dan has a question, and I'm going to see if I can get his mic open. Hi, Dan. Are you there?
Yes, I am. How you doing, guys?
Great. Full name and where you're calling from, and your question for Paul, please.
Danny Marks, Connecticut. How you doing, Paul? How you doing, John? How are you?
Good, Danny. Good.
Good. Just asking a general question here in terms of what you've heard from the different conferences with the protocols with the COVID situation. Post game, pre game. All that stuff that goes around it in terms of masks before the game or stuff like that. So I don't know if you heard anything from all the conferences.
Actually, Johnny, I have not heard anything. Danny, sorry, I have not had one single word. I sent an email to my bosses saying what I alluded to earlier. What are we going to do with water bottles? What are we going to do with locker rooms? What are we going to do with towels? What are we going to do with refreshments? What are we going to do with ball boys? What are we going to do with video replay if it's available? What are we going to do with bench personnel? With the 6 feet apart. So they're still figuring this out. They really are. Usually when I send my bosses an email, I mean, they're back the same day. And I'm waiting 3, 4, 5 days maybe before I hear from them, because they're on Zoom calls all day long. Because maybe you don't realize is that my bosses and John's bosses, who we speak to directly, they're not just covering soccer. They're covering every sport that we have. So they're on Zoom calls with football, basketball, baseball, tennis, soccer, men, women. So they're still trying to figure this out. And I think they're waiting for some guidance from the NCAA. I really think they're waiting for some guidance, which is, I think, supposed to come out this coming week.
It's great. Great. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Hope to see you on the pitch.
Thanks for putting all this together. Appreciate it, Rich. Thanks.
You're the man. Thank you, man. All right. I have another question. This one is from Steve. He does not have a microphone. He's from Washington State, and it has to do with the differences between women's and men's games. He was surprised and happy to participate in two clinics, online clinics, one RWISOA and one somewhere else, with that topic, differences between the women's games and the men's games. So he wants to know if ECSR is planning to do some of those maybe online this year or in the future in person.
Well, we've done something like that in the past. The difference between men's and women's games. You're in a good spot up there where Sandy is. Sandy's a dear old friend and one hell of a referee, I'll tell you that. So you're in a good spot up there. But obviously this year everything got canceled in all of our clinics, all of the NCAA clinics. But there is a difference between the two games. I gotta tell you, in my college career, I've never refereed a NCAA postseason game because I was a terrible women's referee. I just was. I couldn't figure it out. I got hit by the ball more than the goalkeeper did. So it's just one of those things. I get along great with them on the field. I just had difficulty reading that game. So it is a different game for sure. I think it's changing. I think now, more and more since the women's game has really picked up at the youth level with ECNL and what used to be the Women's Development Academy. I think that it's getting much better. In refereeing, knowing that game more. Obviously, the Women's Pro League, we can watch it on TV and watch it develop and how terrific athletes they are. So, but for the future, we always try to include that the women, the difference between the men and the women. hopefully we can, we bridge that gap a little bit more.
Great. I have a new referee online. He does not have a mic. His name is Ryan. He's from North Dakota. This is going to be his first year as a college official in RWISOA and ECSR. He has two questions. One, can you give him a couple of tips and the do's and don'ts as a new official for the college game? And how can he go about getting games?
Well, the first thing, I think Johnny covered it. You just got to work hard. I mean, anybody that's coming in into the college ranks, I mean, you have to work hard, and you have to put your time in. John and I, we didn't, do our first game and jump to pro. I mean, that's for darn sure. Right? We put a lot of time in, a lot of games away, a lot of away from family. So it takes time to climb to the top. Being in North Dakota, I really don't know what is in North Dakota, to be honest with you. My geography is pretty poor, except for maybe the Northeast. My closest team to you would be Creighton. And I have no idea how far Creighton is from North Dakota, so, but yeah, I mean, work as much as you can in North Dakota in any game that you can get. And then, hopefully, we can get games for you along the way.
Can I jump in on that, Tambo? So the other thing is a new official coming in, and I think Paul talked about this a little bit, and the focus on the college game, right? One of the very best things that you can do your first year in college soccer is be an absolute sponge and an absolute listener. Just listen, observe every experience you have on the field. Just listen, especially watch, and go watch women's games, go watch men's games, watch how the players behave differently, right? Those types of things. And then the other thing I would say, as a first year official, you may not have a full schedule that a more experienced referee is. So go watch games. If you have a free day, go find a game, go watch, because there's nothing like your first year in college soccer and really understanding the nuances that are those subtle differences and not so subtle differences with the games that you've been trained on, right?
Great.
And TV, every game's on TV.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much every game is either a stream or on TV. So
yep.
High definition, 1080 nowadays. You can't hide behind a call now. Oh, that was a handball in my book. All right, we have Patrick here with a question. Patrick, good friend Patrick. Hi, Patrick. Just share with everybody your first name, your last name, and where you're calling from, and your question for Paul.
Yes, hi, it's Patrick Violet from Connecticut. Hi, Paul. Hi, John.
Hey, Patty, how are you?
Just a quick question about Paul and John. If you know anything about, if you could share any status about spring college soccer. I know the vote was postponed this year. I know there's a lot going on with COVID, but is there anything to share about that?
In what respect, Pat? Sorry.
Whether you think there's a chance that we'll go full year with NCAA soccer into the spring.
I probably hear the same rumors that John, that everybody hears. There's a whole lot to it to have a split season. I mean, it's always said, oh, you ever can do a split season, but there's so many factors that go into it. Can they staff, spring, because there's a lot of spring sports as well. Facilities. And the biggest thing is that right now, Division I doesn't have a separate vote. So what affects Division I is going to affect Division II, Division III. And quite honestly, Division I coaches, women's coaches, do not want a split season.
That's right.
So that's, and I don't know how the legality fits into all that. Don't ask me that with Title IX and all the other kind of stuff, man. That's way above my pay grade. So I think we got a ways to go on that one, just based on, how they're going to do it all. So would I like to see a split season? Absolutely.
Yeah, and just so I've had at least one commissioner at Division II, Paul, level that said, early on, we were talking about the different scenarios. That was a scenario, trying to not even split the season, just push it into the spring. So they're talking about it. They have a tremendous amount of hurdles out. Division I could probably do it. The 2 and 3 have a little bit more of an issue with facilities and athletes being and playing multiple sports and things like that. And then so I think the unofficial, so I haven't heard this, but I think if you're paying attention to anything COVID related or other, I think there's a huge concern about institutions surviving economically. And so I think the economic piece of that, I mean, Division I, you see athletic program, men's soccer teams being cut and things like that. You're going to see, we're worried at Division III if some of our schools don't make it, right? Just like the school, or the schools merge. So if I were a betting man, I would say that it's on pause for now until they get to reset after COVID.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you, Patrick. All right, a final question from Brandon from New York, and it has to do with one of your points of emphasis, Paul. When we deal with a coach properly and for a good reason, and the coach complains to the assigner, what should we expect? Especially the way he put it, let me read the question. If the coach says you will never come back here again, and the referee did what he was supposed to do, he did a good job. He did what he was supposed to do.
Well, I'll say this. If a coach says that to you, why would you want to go back? So that's the first thing.
I agree.
There's so many games out there. John and I could get you a game anywhere. So if that coach doesn't want you back there, fine, we'll get you another game. And look, this is what I do with coaches all the time. So, Patrick's on the line. And one coach says, well, I don't want Patrick back here. I said, you know what? I can do that. I said, but I cannot guarantee that Patrick will see you on the road, because that coach wants Patrick. So this is the games that go on, So look, there's personality conflicts amongst coaches and referees, no doubt about it. It happens all of the time, But first of all, I would take you off a game to protect you, not to protect the coach, to protect you. Because if you're in a lose-lose if I send you back to that school, a lose-lose. So you'll go to another school somewhere. I'll flop you with another referee somewhere along the line, But at the end of the day, the coaches have to act responsible. They have to. So if they don't want you back, so be it. Not a big deal. We'll get you another game.
There you have it. And who wants to go back? I love that. Final, Scarlett. Let's see if we can get Scarlett to open up the mic here.
All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for taking your time. We really appreciate it on a Friday. My question is like suggestive reading. Is there any books or magazines or articles you would prefer us to read as far as for sports psychology and communication techniques? Thank you so much.
Wow. I'm the practical guy, you know what I mean? So, I'm more of a hands-on. I don't discourage people from reading books on officiating or anything like that. I think that what you see, what we do on our website, what NYSOA does on their website, of looking at plays. The biggest thing is, Scarlett, the biggest thing for me is that we don't understand the game. We've always been taught, I've always been taught, this is a yellow, this is a red. I've never sat in a situation, I never sat in a room except at a FIFA tournament or a CONCACAF tournament where we talked about not the systems of play, but the dynamics of play. So, why a player moves there, why wouldn't the player move there? You look at videos, I analyze the clip and say, okay, well, the referee misses it because he fails to recognize that the play should have went there. So, there was an article many, many years ago, and I'm dating myself, It was an article, it was an interview with Carlos Valderrama, and some of you that are 22 years old don't know who Carlos Valderrama is. But the interview went on to say, you know, the question was, and I'm paraphrasing, says, Carlos, what makes you such a better player? Or what makes you think that, or what makes you do the things that you do? And he says, I'm 3 plays ahead of the game. And we need to be 3 plays ahead of the game. And if you ever saw that man play, I mean, he could put a ball, you know, between, you know, a 6-inch space without even blinking, because he already knew where to put the ball before he got the ball. So this is what we don't do. So I don't know if books can tell you that. I'm pretty sure they can, but I think experience on the field is a heck of a lot more. And Johnny said it, you know, games, you know. So this is how you learn. And now, God, the game is so progressed compared to when I was refereeing. Wow, you know, the players are so talented. You know, not just Division I, Division III, Division II. There's extremely talented. Youth ball, extremely talented now. So, yes, read, absolutely. But also experience.
You know, you hit a point there, very important. The game, it became so smart now, and so quick than before. But the level of acceptance from coaches and players went down badly. It's not what it used to be. Back then, when I started, you know, 25 years ago, you made a call, and they may not agree, but there was some level of respect, right? And that's gone. So, do you see the same?
Well, of course, you know, and you know, Dave Mazur, who most of you know if you referee in the New York area, you know, Dave and I had this conversation, you know, 2 years ago, maybe it was, and I actually posed the same question to him, Richard. I said, Dave, what is the difference? And he said, Paul, 10 years ago, we didn't have coaches making 6 figures. We didn't have 2 full-time coaches. We didn't have a strength and conditioning coach. We didn't have a budget of, you know, whatever the budget is for the season. He says, that's what it is now. You know, we have coaches making, you know, we have coaches, Division I coaches making $450,000, you know? So that's quite different than when, you know, a coach is making $30,000 and, you know, he was lining the field and putting up the nets and everything else. So this is where we are. This is how it's evolved so much now.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions? All right, no more questions on the website. We have a whole bunch of silly questions. You know what I'm talking about, Paul? We don't want to give them the answers publicly. So, so yeah, I just want to end on this note. If you want to work for any assigner, Paul or John, or any ECSR assigner, just remember the basics, right? Make yourself available. Don't complain when you get the call. If you stay a line 200 miles away from your house, if you want to do the easy game and the better game, you better take it quietly and be open to criticism. Every single game now is under the microscope. We all make mistakes, and let's use it to become better, right? Let's turn it into a learning experience. Does that make sense, Paul?
Makes sense. And be fit, guys and gals. You have to be fit.
You have to be fit. You have to be fit to referee. Don't referee to be fit. So just a review on the points of emphasis. We talked about team officials. Let's manage that behavior the proper way. Deal with violent tackles and challenges. Want to get rid of those. They don't belong in the soccer game. And abusive language. Right?
Perfect.
Did I miss anything?
Nope. Hit it right on the head there.
Any final words, Paul?
No, just look, the only thing I'd like to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that just be patient. There's going to be changes in games. There's going to be all kind of hectic things going on. And Johnny, he maybe know a little bit more than me. I know nothing about what's going to happen. I really, really, really don't. So if you're assigned to a game right now and it's going to change, it's going to remove you from the assignment, or it's going to go to a different day, it's going to go to a different time. You just be patient with it. There's no reason to why I may remove you from a game. Okay, just me. Look, the American East just picked up the NJIT. A new team coming into the conference already. Robert Morris just joined Horizon League, or I think what it was. So you just have to be patient. We're just in trying times. That's all. But thank you for your time, Richard. Thank you. What a great thing you've done, Johnny. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for everything, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Paul Tamberino, ladies and gentlemen. What a great insight, right? What a great insight. You want to work for the ECSR? Now you know what to do. Now you know where to go. Work hard and you'll get there. Who do we have next? We have Lance online. Let's see if we can open him up. Lance.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
I'm trying to work my camera here. Hang on a second. Since I see John and Tambo, and I feel like I want to join the party.
That's fine. You'll take care of that. You figure that out. I'll remind everybody we're live on Facebook, and Lance is next. He's gonna have some nice NISOA updates, some nice NISOA news. We're gonna talk about the exciting clinics, online clinics that they're gonna start tomorrow, noon. And so questions for Lance, use the question section on the webinar, or send us an email to rwisoa@gmail.com.
Well, I can't get my camera working for some reason, and here I am all dressed up. I've got my NISOA tie on, I've got my jacket, because I know this is a special day because this is the 12th and final RWISA webinar.
I'm gonna make you a presenter. Let's see if that opens up your mic, your cam.
Let me see.
It should be a button. There, is that you? No, that's just your thing.
Yeah, you got to go find a middle school kid to help you with your IT.
I know. That's when you know. That's when I know I need to retire. So anyway,
it should be right on your panel on the right side, right next to the red arrow. If you click on the red arrow, it says webcam. Click on webcam, and then click down webcams and select the one you want to use. Share my webcam, or
He tells me to go to my preferences here, and then I go to my preferences, as you can see on my screen.
Yeah.
And it's not listed.
Just select any cam there, your normal cam, whatever cam you use.
Well, I can't get this to work. So
It's all right.
big deal. No big deal.
Not a big deal.
We'll take this.
I'll take this back from you. Don't worry about it.
All right. Take it back from me. So, well, first off, Richard, thanks for having me on. I think I may have exceeded the record and broke the record of number of appearances on the webinar series, either informally or formally. So, I'm proud of that record.
You're holding another record too, the longest.
Yes, the longest too. And I was telling people that. I'm like, you know what though? That just shows the success and the dedication of not only RWISOA, but also the attendees, the ones that are listening in from across the country. Here we are, most of the country starting to open up again from COVID. And there are plenty of things people could be doing right now, but what are they doing? They're on a Friday night, 153 people, 152. We're losing a couple, probably because I'm rambling, but people are still attending and still attending in masses. So that just tells us that people want to be here. People want knowledge.
Definitely, most definitely. And that's 152 here on the webinar. And we currently have on our different Facebook platforms close to 300. So that's over 450 referees on a Friday night listening to us. Can you believe that?
I think, well, I can because John and Tambo were on, everybody wants games. So, but no, all jokes aside though, congratulations on your success for RWISOA, Richard, the presenters that have taken the time, individuals like John, Ryan Sigich, Tambo, Manny, Todd Abraham, Mark Cahan, Pensos, the uncles. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And but more importantly, like we were talking earlier, the viewers and the listeners, because this isn't possible without the viewers and the listeners. And this has been such a great success. I know personally I've caught myself, if I'm unable to attend, I'm sitting there on Saturday waiting for the upload so I can listen, and then I have to check back on Sunday to make sure it uploaded. So it's very exciting, even though we are in a little bit of difficult times and unusual times. It's very exciting that the silver lining is we're being pushed into a new direction when it comes to information. Which kind of leads me into NYSOA's, summer educational series, or I like to call it Saturday School, where it starts tomorrow, but we've got a plethora and a wide range of scheduled events for the education, starting tomorrow, and I include the fitness aspect into that, but starting tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're doing a live fitness session. Something we're starting to do, part of NYSOA Fit. We're starting to do that. There's 3 workouts posted every week, starting on, usually they're posted by Monday morning, that everybody can do while adhering to social distancing. And then we do the live session on Saturday. So that starts at 10 a.m. on our NYSOA YouTube channel. And then at noon, just enough time for a quick shower, grab something to eat, and then come back at noon. And we got Alex Pruce, who I can't think of a better person to talk about management of the game. I mean, all of you that have seen Alex Pruce referee or have refereed with Alex Pruce, I mean, he was the master in terms of managing the game and the game within a game. So we've got Alex coming on. Alex was supposed to be our keynote presenter at the NYSOA Summit back in April at Clemson University, but with that having to be postponed, he has agreed to find time in his quite busy schedule to provide this information in this presentation for our membership. And then if you stay the entire time, which is it's scheduled to be from noon to 2, there's a special surprise at the end of the session. So I'll just leave it at that. So even if you cannot make Alex's presentation, try to tune in between 1:30 and 2 for a special surprise. And then at 5 o'clock later that day, same day, Saturday, we have the first of 2 NYSOA ECSR joint webinars. So it's something we're going to be doing with ECSR and us, because we're no longer having the in-person clinics this year. We still wanted to provide value to the membership. So we got together and we're going to do 2 webinars together. The first one is on June 20th. And we're going to be going through just a brief overview of the rule changes. And then the 2 topics they're going to touch on are going to be identifying misconduct, which we can always improve on, and then dynamic positioning. Now, the presenters for that one are Mark Cahan's going to moderate, Manny Ortiz from ECSR, and Todd Abraham from NYSOA will be on the webinar. And then Doug Ferguson will be the host with Never Ends Productions, NYSOA's official broadcast partner. So that's a busy day tomorrow. So we're hoping to give people a lot of opportunities to tune in, soak in this information. And as Richard's on this website now, we've decided to chunk the rule changes, because this is a very extensive rule change year. We've decided to chunk it into 4 parts to be able to give proper and appropriate amount of time for each topic. And you can see that starts in actually July. And the reason we wanted to start so late this year is we want to make sure that the rule book is published online, so that way everybody can review it and follow along and come with questions. So we've got it chunked down there together in 4 different parts. Now it's going to be usually about an hour long each session. So, and the best part about these is if you are unable to attend because of the time frames, because we have to accommodate, one of our initiatives is emphasis is being inclusive, and we know our membership spans 5 time zones. So we try to move a little bit of the times around here to accommodate everybody. But if you're unable to attend any of these sessions, they're going to be recorded in their entirety, and they're going to be posted on NYSOA's YouTube channel for future viewing. So we highly, highly recommend you subscribe to the NYSOA YouTube channel, because then you can receive instant notifications when content is uploaded. One of the questions that was asked to Tambo about men's versus women's game, you know, I was kind of chuckling because we have that on the NYSOA YouTube channel. Tori Penso and I did a presentation last year at the summit that was recorded, and it's about 45 minutes long, and it talks about the differences and similarities between the men's and women's game. So we've got stuff like that on there. So, you know, it's always good to go on there and refresh, check it out, and go from there. So that's kind of what we got for the summer educational series. It's a lot going on, you know, people like Rockwell, Mark Kadalesic, you know, Ted Uncle's going to be on. So we're very excited. We're very, very excited about the opportunities this year. And then we have some things planned for the fall that I can't reveal yet, but we're even more excited about those. So those will be communicated in the near future once we're able to finalize some details. So we are extremely excited, extremely busy.
That's great. Question real quick. National referees and national assessors and regional assessors, they need to attend which clinic?
Good question. So national referees and national candidates in the past have had to attend one of our in-person clinics or the NCAA clinics in order to have to meet part of their recertification. So this year, since we're not having the in-person clinics, we've decided, because we're offering a variety of dates and times, that for the national referees and candidates only, it was communicated today that we're recommending they attend requiring that they attend one of the NYSOA ECSR joint webinars or one of the NCAA webinars that are going to be released shortly. I can't tell you how many NCAA webinars that are going to be, because I'm not 100% certain, and I don't want to mislead anybody. So, but there will be plenty of options for the national referees and candidates. Now, in terms of the assessors, Amanda Ross, who's our new NYSOA National Director of Assessment, she's going to be coming out with information regarding that. Now, she has planned 2 webinars just for the assessors, which is something new that hasn't been done in a long time. So if you're a national or regional assessor, or even if you're just a local assessor, you know, be on the lookout for more information regarding Amanda's webinars, that she has 2 of them planned on July 15th and August 5th to cover some details. There's going to be some changes made in the NYSOA assessment program, and there's going to be some emphasis on video assessments because of the potential issues surrounding attending games. So more information will be provided in the near future.
Great. I know in the past I've been asked about mentors, and as a matter of fact, I just got a question regarding mentors. Since mentors are an important aspect of referee development, will that be part of the new assessment program, the new educational program, instruction program, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, mentors are extremely important, and they're basically the structure in which the referees grow up in. And a mentor does not have to be somebody that was a FIFA referee It could be anybody. It could be somebody that you work with on a regular basis because they're in their local area. It could be your signer. It could be a family member that you referee with, all those things. So it is important. We've always kind of left it up to the local chapters to help with develop a mentor program, but it is something we're looking at. And that's something that I've always been passionate about with my involvement in Region 3 the last 5-6 years at youth regionals as a mentor, as well as at ODP as an instructor. So that is something that will be coming out to provide a little bit more guidance on like how chapters can structure a mentor program.
Great, that's great. Great. Any other news from NYSOA? Anything else that we should know?
Yeah, I mean, man, we're meeting, NYSOA, the executive board, ever since March, has been meeting twice a month. We typically meet once a month via webinar, but we've been meeting twice a month because of the ever-changing ebbs and flows of the season. So just, we're working on some things for the membership. We're working with the NCAA, we're working with conferences to develop policies where we can create a safe environment for not only the student athletes and the coaches, but also for the referees. And it really comes down to, as a referee, being responsible, doing your due diligence, and being professional in what you do. So what does that mean? Well, first, make sure your availability is up to date, and make sure if this is the 1 year that you are going to be obsessive about keeping up your availability, this is the year to do it. Because I'm sure, as John and Tambo had mentioned, games are going to be changed all the time. You're going to have teams that will cancel because of whatever reason. So it's very, very important that you keep your availability up to date, because there's going to be a lot of changes. And if you can help out your assigner by making one less phone call for them, they will greatly appreciate it. And then it comes down to taking care of yourself. Just think of things that you do on a regular basis and your habits that you have on game day, and how you can modify them to for your own safety. A lot of us, we carpool together to games. You got to really start to think about that, whether or not that is something that should be done this year. Taking your temperature the day of the game. A lot of schools are going to be taking temperatures at the field, but what happens when your temperature at the field exceeds the limit? Now the game's got to be a dual system game, or the assigner only has an hour to find a replacement, and puts them into a really difficult situation. So be on top of taking your temperature throughout the season, and especially on game days before you even leave your house, because the sooner you can let your assigner know that you've exceeded that temperature, the better they're going to be in a position to find a replacement. Another thing that you need to be cognizant of too is assistant referees. A lot of the times we share equipment, right? We share in our assistant referee flags. One person brings a set of flags and we go with it. Well, it may not be a bad idea that each AR brings their own flag, assuming that it's the same one. So those are things we have to start thinking about. We have to think outside the box to really make things safe, because if heaven forbid one of us gets COVID positive, that affects all of us. And being out, just like the players, when they're out a week of the season, for us being out a week or 2 weeks makes a major difference. So we need to really, really be on top of our sanitary and our health this year.
Yeah, most definitely. Quick question from Michael. I don't know where he's from. He doesn't have a mic. He's not a national referee. He's not a national candidate yet. But he would like to know if he attends those online clinics, can he get credit for his local chapter?
This will be up to the local chapter to decide. Now, NYSOA recommends that the local chapters accept the attendance at these webinars to meet their chapter meeting requirements, especially this year because it is an unusual year where we're not going to be having the in-person meetings. So it really depends on your local chapter, what they decide, but I will be providing attendance registrations for chapters that request it. And as well, when you register for one of these webinars, you receive a PDF attachment of your registration and all the clinics you've registered for. Now, we expect our members to be professional, be honest, have integrity. So if you sign up for a clinic and you submit it to your local chapter saying you attended, we expect you to be honest and forthright about that.
All right, that's great. And he just texted me. He's from Hawaii, and he says aloha.
That's why we have some of those 8:30 starts for the weekdays with Ted Uncle.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Plus, it's nice outside, anyways. So.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody has questions? Any questions? John, you want to jump in? Any questions? Any interaction there? Anything you want to say?
No, I typically like to listen when Lance speaks. He's very knowledgeable. I learn a lot, so that's good.
All right, great.
It's gonna be difficult, right? So the listeners that are on right now, things are changing. NAIA has said September 5th as their start date for the season. So and they usually started beginning of August. So they've really pushed back a month. The Division II conferences have reduced the number of games, the maximum number of games, and many of them are looking at only playing a conference season. And some conferences across the country, Division I, II, III, are also looking at not having a conference tournament. So it's going to be challenging for everybody involved. And I would recommend staying on top of the news. I would recommend looking to see what other sports do. And this kind of brings me to my next point here too, is MLS is going to be starting back up. NWSL is going to be starting back up. So Bundesliga has already started up. Premier League started up. So watch those leagues, see what they do. You'll notice they're going to be doing some things differently because of social distancing, COVID-19, and things like that. So see if you can pick up some tricks from them by watching them for the season.
That's great.
For example, it's going to be management of players. Yeah. A lot of the times we get close to players, we talk to them, we pat them on the shoulder in a men's game. You really can't be doing that this year. Same with coaches. We used to go over to the coach, stand shoulder to shoulder with him or her, talk to them. Now it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to be challenging for many of us. We're really going to have to improve our nonverbal communication.
And for the non-technical referees, it's going to be difficult. When you have the tendency to be more practical, now it forces you to be technical, and now it's going to be different.
Exactly. I mean, it's something that has to be considered. When a player encroaches in a referee space, more than 6 feet, how are you as a referee going to deal with that? How are you going to nonverbal communication to prevent that from happening? So it's going to be a challenge, and I think we're hoping that the education that we provide this summer, along with the NCAA, is going to provide the skill sets and some tips and tricks needed.
All right, great. Thank you, Lance. And just going to leave you with this question, see if we can answer real quick. A referee from New York, don't have a name. He says he's from New York. He wants to know how can he log in for tomorrow's 12 o'clock webinar. And the answer is simple. You send out so many emails, but is there any other way?
So no, great question there, right? So especially being the first one, I really wanted everybody to have a chance to attend. Now we are capped at 500, so don't wait until the last minute to sign in. But what you can do is everybody received an email that I sent at around 4:30 p.m. today. And it provided, it was through Arbiter. So sometimes Arbiter goes to spam. So please check your spam folder. And this is for NYSOA membership because it's generated through our membership list. So the email was sent out and it provided you an itinerary for tomorrow, as well as login information. And the login information is in the attachment, which is a Dropbox link that was at the bottom of mine. So for it.
I think I'm sharing the right.
There you go. Keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling down. Right at the bottom there, it's going to tell you that one right there is the Summer Educational Series 6 2020 is the login information, which is the links, the direct links. Alex's picture. You scroll down a little bit, Richard, or maybe don't have to. Yeah, no problem. Scroll down, right there's a direct link. Please link to join us right there. And then the NYSOA ECSR one is right below it with a separate link as well. And then going back to the email, the second document that's linked is for the fitness workout tomorrow. Now there will be a special guest working out tomorrow. So those of you that are there, and at 10 a.m., you'll see a special guest that's going to be working out with Coach Trent. Now, same with the workouts as the instruction. If you're unable to attend tomorrow's 10 a.m. session, these will be posted on YouTube. So that way you can always go back and do the workout. Okay. Yep, that's Trent. I kind of know him.
I hope so.
But great question. But also too is make sure you register. Even if you attend the session tomorrow and you haven't registered, still register for it. Make sure you register for it because this way you can get credit if your local chapter asks for it. Okay, so the registration for that will close tomorrow at the time of the meeting. So don't think you can register or go to the meeting and then register afterwards.
Great. Thank you, Lance. As always, a pleasure.
No, Richard, thank you. Like I said, congratulations on the success. And, we really do appreciate what you and RWISOA and your membership. I know those of you that have taken time to be moderators, and then the clinicians that you've had on, and the coaches and the assigners, and then everybody listening at home. I mean, it's been fantastic. And if I could do one more plug, and that's CONCACAF, my day job, my primary job, we have created a YouTube channel. And ours is focused on high-level officiating all the way down to grassroots. So I strongly recommend anybody that's listening to check it out. And if you go to YouTube and search CONCACAF Center of Refereeing Excellence, you will see that we have a channel. And we actually have some great presentations on there, one on Advantage, voiceover, and we also have another one on dynamic personality. And to me, dynamic personality really falls into what we're going to do this year on the college field. So moderated by or narrated by NYSOA Hall of Famer, 2002 World Cup referee Brian Hall, and also he's also the director of officials for CONCACAF. So take a look, please subscribe, and we plan on putting more content on there. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody. John, great seeing you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you much. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for everything that NYSOA is doing. Let's see. All right, just a quick reminder, we're still live on Facebook with surpassed the 500 views, so we're doing well. Questions for John. John is next. Email it to us, rwisoa@gmail.com, or use the question section on the webinar. So John, you're going to start with refereeing stinking. Is that the first one?
That is, and I think
So,
do I load up my? my screen here?
You will. Just have it ready. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share it soon. I just before you start, I just want to let everybody know who you are. You're not just an assigner. You actually happen to be a former national referee.
I'm a legend in my own mind. Yeah, that's right.
You're a current national referee coach for USSF, and you are a pro assessor.
Right. Yeah. So I spend I split up my soccer time between assigning college matches for 8 different conferences, Division 2 and 3, with my partner Mark Garcia out of Philadelphia. A NYSOA national assessor. I think I'm still a NYSOA emeritus national referee. And on the U.S. soccer side, old fart, retired referee, national referee, and U.S. soccer national referee coach, and I'm a pro assessor. So I get to do a lot of different things.
You get to do a lot of different things. You got that right. On top of that, you do like to go to watch some games. On top of that, I don't know how the hell you do it.
When I can, yeah. But actually, I'd be lying if I didn't say the biggest joy of my life in soccer is I'm an assistant coach with the local special needs soccer program. So that's
I was gonna talk about that a little bit if you wanted to. Go right ahead. Go ahead.
No. Listen, it's just
Share with us.
anybody that ever needs a little perspective on life, go and volunteer with your local special needs athletics groups or Special Olympics or whatever you got. You won't be regretful. That's all.
And Alex is doing great. I saw him competing there.
That's right. Yeah. No, I have a 12-year-old who is autistic and special needs, so I have a little different view of the world. That's right.
It's a lovely kid. All right, John, I'm giving you the power.
So I think I'm live now, right? Okay, good. So thanks so much for having me. And I was a little, my summer has been really busy, and I haven't been very responsive to Richard. And then I didn't feel there was a need to be responsive because of all the big heavy hitters that he was bringing in to these seminars. And then I thought this was great. And then, we spoke, and he said, sure, we'll figure out a way for me to get on there on Friday. And then I realized that I'm the cleanup hitter after every major powerhouse instructor in the world. And I'm sorry that I'm the final person here. So it's a little intimidating.
And give me one second. We have a little boo-boo here. Hold on.
Okay.
It's not sharing well. Your screen is not sharing, so I'm going to take it.
Hold on. Here we go. How about that?
Oh, there you are.
Better?
Yep. That's it.
Okay. So yeah, no. So in any event, we'll give it a shot. This presentation I put together a handful of years ago, and it was inspired by a former FIFA referee and a former U.S. Soccer National Director of Assessment, a person named Angelo Bratzis from Massachusetts. And he was, one of the big instructors as I was coming through as an active referee on my way up the ladder, 20 years ago or so. And, the one thing that I took away from his different presentations was the concept of referee is thinking, right? And so this is inspired by him, and it's the purpose of this presentation is to really walk you through some basic things after you've gone through all this outstanding technical instruction over the last 11 or 12 weeks. And as we break to, go for another round of this is stuff that has always been helpful to me. A little bit of his old school, so some of the younger referees may not have thought about these types of things. And it should tie into your thought process and how you're approaching the matches and all the considerations that are the driving force on how to think through decisions and whatnot. So anyway, without further ado, well, no, maybe I'm not doing anything here. There we go. Okay. So disclaimer that questions that are not asked may not be answered. So please feel free to ask questions anytime, and I'm happy to do my very best to give you an answer or tell you I don't know the answer. Here are some just going through the basics of a lot of these are buzz phrases. A lot of these things are things that you should keep in mind as you're going through all this. Number one is, if you fail to prepare to struggle. How many times have you gone to a game and you know nothing about the teams? The worst thing is to get feedback as a conference assigner, and I got this from a Division II coach last year, where he said, at the end of the day, I disagreed with this decision and that decision, but what really burned me was I got the sense that these guys had no idea who was playing, what the stakes were. There was no preparation. And I think I'll tell you, if you want to work at the top level for Tambo or Rachel Wu and other Division I assigners, you better do your homework, and you better understand who the goal scorers are, who are the people that are the problem children, what are the stakes of the game, those types of things. This is the very first thing they teach you, or they used to teach you anyway, as an entry level, or what we call a grassroots level referee on the U.S. soccer side. And this mantra really follows through all the way through the professional level and the international level. Safety, equality, and enjoyment. And there's going to be a major focus on safety and risk management this year in the college side. And I guess the one thing that I would tell everybody with this season coming up, if we're able to actually step on some soccer fields and play some soccer matches, just be thankful. Just be thankful for what we have, and do everything in your power to protect all the participants in the match, including yourself. So never lose sight of that from the very first day that you referee to the top of your career. This always applies. Now, we used to say expect the unexpected, right? That's a buzz phrase. But a couple of years ago, in pro, when we were talking at some of our, whenever it was a preseason camp or one of our many webinars that we do throughout the year, we changed that philosophy to plan for the unexpected. So we don't want you to expect it, but what's the plan? What's the plan if this happens? We have lightning, or we have bad weather scheduled. What's the plan if something happens here? These are the things that we want you to be, the thinking referee, someone who's thinking about management throughout the whole process. Herb Silva, former longtime director of officials for U.S. Soccer and head of the professional referees before there was pro, he would always say, what's your go to hell plan? What's your plan when things go to hell? So again, just being thoughtful about all these things, and sometimes this might be included in a pregame discussion, right? This is what happens if we have a mass confrontation. This is what we're going to do. So I'm a big proponent of not wearing a badge that says referee. I really think that the badge should say manager. And Tambo, I think, would be in violent agreement with me, because Tambo was one of the best player managers of officials that at any level that we've seen in this country. And so, especially at the college level, managing almost every component of the game, risk management, player management, pregame, postgame, it's really an acquired skill. You really build your experience base and learn and keep building your experience base, and the more different experiences and situations you have. But really be a manager. We don't want robots. We're not yet. We're not refereeing the games with robots and drones. Although maybe if this keeps up, maybe we'll bring the drones in. I don't know. But for now, we want people to, the humanistic management process is really important part of the game. And I think Lance might have pointed this out, that listen, and I think Paul pointed out too, the speed of the games are so much faster. I think Richard pointed that out. We're so much faster, and referees can't stand in the center circle and just referee off the reputation. That doesn't fly like it did 20 years ago or 25 years ago when Richard and I first started. We want athletes that are managing athletes, right? And part of being an athlete is you got to take care of yourself, especially we're in this high risk period where your health is just as important and everybody else's health out there. We're not looking for heroes to be working through, refereeing through injuries or illnesses and whatnot. We really want you to take good care of yourself, be proactive, and understand that you're an athlete and a really important part of the game. All right, so Tambo and I didn't talk about this, but here we go. Know the NCAA rules and follow the conference protocols. I can't tell you enough. You could be the best referee on the roster. If you don't know the NCAA rules, ultimately, we cannot use you. You could be the best referee on the roster. You can be the best referee on the planet. And if you don't follow the conference protocols, we can't use you. So it's really important to make sure that you're constantly refreshing yourself on the NCAA rules if you're working different types of competitions in the season. We can't have a mistake on a substitution rule. It just can't happen, because trust me when I tell you, we will know about it. It will be reported to us, and it is very difficult to defend not knowing the rules and not following protocols. So we will do the best job we can as possible to defend you, but we cannot support and defend when you apply rules that don't exist in the NCAA. So just for dramatic effect, again, I can't tell you how important this is. And I think Tambo would be applauding if he was on the call still. And another one. And these conference protocols are going to be so important when we get into the discussions a little bit tonight and then later on in the summer, in terms of what we have to do given the current condition of the world, really, and the health protocols and risk management protocols and safety protocols. There is no room for you to be a rogue citizen here. You must follow these protocols. And quite honestly, if you can't follow them or you're not willing to, I think you just need to call your assigner and say, hey, listen, I'll come back when we're back to normal, but I can't live under these circumstances. That's fine. But we can't have you going out there and not following protocol and putting people at risk, or giving the appearance that you're putting people at risk. All right, Tambo talked about this a little bit. Listen, we must eliminate violence in every game, every level of soccer in the world. The same directive is there. There is no place for violence in the sport. If you think you're being someone's friend because you turned a red card for a violent tackle into a yellow card, trust me when I tell you, you are not helping the game, you are not helping the players, you are not helping the conference. These are student athletes and they must be protected. So eliminate violence. There's just no place for it in our game. Now, the NCAA is going to try to confuse us a little bit with the rule changes that I'm sure we'll get into in the summer, but we must eliminate violence. And that doesn't mean just giving red cards when there's a red card. That means being thoughtful about the buildup to preventing a red card, preventing that frustration, preventing that retaliation, being aware and thinking through management techniques on how to avoid that. So we should always have eliminating violence in the forefront of our mind in our game. Get it right, especially the match critical conditions. There are going to be times where you need to think through something and it's not going to look so great. Now, ideally, we want you to get it right and we want you to look good doing it and following the right procedures. But at the end of the day, we want you to get the match critical decisions correctly. I guess the other thing I would say is, I think Tambo pointed out, maybe Richard, every game is televised in some capacity and everybody's looking at video, right? So we really want to, and you got to take your time to get it right. Take your time, get it right. Teamwork is critical. And one of the things that we don't really talk all that much about is trust, right? That's a major component of teamwork. And a lot of times it's easy when you're working with someone you have a long experience and relationship with, and other times you're working with someone for the first time. And so, you really need to be thoughtful about how you approach the teamwork dynamic in those type of situations, depending on who the referees are and whatnot. I think we had a question earlier for somebody who is their first year as a collegiate referee. And so, you know, if you're the referee and AR2 is in their first year, you need to be aware of that and what their background is. You may have different approaches and different expectations and how you're going to help manage that teamwork and that trust together, and maybe that calming discussion before the match. Another element of trust is trusting yourself to trust your teamwork, your teammates, right? So again, this is all just trying to get you thinking, think. How can you effectively manage the match? And, you know, there's discussion about, is this person a good referee? Is this person a bad referee? I think the question to ask yourself is, were you an effective official? Were you an effective referee? Were you an effective AR in this game or in this situation, right? Or were you not effective? If you're ineffective, why is that? And then the thought process goes to our debrief, self analysis. So everything we're talking about is trying to increase the chances of you being effective in that match. Communication is key. We used to say, I don't want to date myself, but we used to say, you know, referee with your personality. Tambo was a perfect example of that. That's why he was, you know, 5-time MLS referee of the year or whatever the number was. We don't want robots. And not everybody is the same. You know, if your approach and your style and your personality is different than the next referee, that's totally fine. Use what works for you, what you're comfortable with, what you think will make you effective. And I think along the way, one of the things that was asked earlier by that first-year official in North Dakota, if I remember correctly, listen and, you know, listen and learn from others. And because there are things you can, I hate to use the word, but, you know, basically refereeing is a bunch of stealing. You're stealing from all the people you work with and the mentors and all the good things and the effective management techniques that they've used, and seeing if they can fit into your personality, into your approach, and how you frame and approach the game. So, you know, don't be afraid to use your personality. We don't want robots. Most mistakes, especially critical match incidents or KMIs, key match incidents, as Pro calls them, are a result of poor positioning. And typically, the poor positioning is not a fitness issue. It's a thought issue. It's a thought process of where you should be positioned or aligning yourself. So the thing I always tell people to think about is never be happy. Never settle for the angle you have. You should always be thinking about, how can I improve my angle on this play, especially during dynamic play. What that typically means is you generally aren't standing still. You're always in motion. Your brain's in motion thinking, your feet are in motion, and you're trying to always maximize the best possible angle of view to make the decision. And that brings us to being close to player proximity. So angle is a higher priority than proximity. We want you to be we would rather you have a better angle and be further away. Now, we don't want you to be too far away, but sometimes you can be very close to the play and have a terrible angle and you'll miss it and it's right under your nose. So the thing to think about, angle, in what Pro talks about and their positioning directives, angle is the positioning on regarding angle is all about getting the best view to make the right decision. Proximity is primarily to bring command presence to the decision and helping you selling the decision and putting you in a position for potential management techniques. But angle is key. And, you know, if you're thinking through, how do I get the best angle, and you're you know, very obsessive about that, that'll put you in a mindset that you're always looking for a good angle, and hopefully your feet will be moving. And the other thing too is, especially in key match incidents, you know, always consider that there's at least 3 and sometimes 4 different angles of view on a decision. And so your teammate might have a very different angle. And so there's something to consider there. Now, in the world of headsets, and they're getting more popular and more conferences are using them, that becomes a little easier. We may not be wearing headsets this year due to COVID concerns. So, you know, we need to be thoughtful about how we are communicating with each other and making sure we understand we're getting information from our partners that can be helpful in making decisions, especially when it comes to angles. Richard, how are we doing? We okay on time?
Oh, you got all the time in the world.
Oh, good God, no. It's Friday night. These people need to go do something. You know, it's just some other thought things here. Good eye contact, confident body language. You know, we don't talk about command presence all that much. It's a thing. Command presence is going to be even more important in the COVID era because we're not going to be able to, like Lance said, we're not going to be able to get up close and personal and have those quiet words or strong words quietly. Or so we're going to have to figure out ways to communicate. And I think a lot of that's going to be with our presence and our body language. Cautioning mechanics. This is a real pet peeve of mine, and I'll share this with you. Somewhere along the way in the last 15 years or so, our referees, we moved to this online video kind of training framework. And so we watch a video clip and we all say, yes, that's a yellow card. Okay, great, yellow card. Identifying the foul, identifying the yellow card misconduct, the caution, that's only half the battle. The other half is how you think through and issue the caution and the mechanics. Eye contact is absolutely huge, especially for student athletes. And what, you know, keeping your options. Now, I would argue that in the COVID era, we're going to be thinking about going a little old school and isolating players and bringing them off to the side. And then so we can have our 6-yard discussion with them if we're going to caution. So these are things to be thinking about. If you keep your options open, meaning don't pull out the yellow card and put it at your side while the player's on the ground, they know they're getting a yellow card. All your management is done. You're really not getting around, you're not getting the maximum value out of that yellow card, right? And then you'll wonder why, geez, well, technically these were all correct yellow cards, but we have 12 yellow cards, right? Because the way you're giving them, you're not managing the situation. Caution is really meant to do 2 things: reset the player and reset the game, right? And you know, you're basically putting your stamp on that game. So take your time, get it right, get the eye contact, you know, let everybody know this game has been disrupted and it's not because of me, it's because of this person over here, and they'll get the message. So this is something I really would hope that you think about, especially if you're aspiring to go even higher and work in the professional divisions. MLS referees are a bad example. And the reason is MLS referees have experience with those players. They know each other. It's a little bit of a different animal how we manage that. But at our level, in the amateur level, the collegiate level, eye contact is critical. And I'll tell you, not to pick on Richard, but Richard's one of the best in terms of how he diffuses a situation and takes the air out of the game when he needs to and talks to a player and gets that eye contact. Now he's going to have to figure out a way not to talk so closely this year, but you know, it's effective for him and his style. But these are things to think about.
I do my wrong things too. I get my messed up. As a matter of fact, I have a little surprise for you. I have a little clip here for you.
Yeah. Well,
you can analyze it from a couple of years ago.
Okay. Oh, right. Right.
I'm not embarrassed. That's how we get better, right?
One last thing I'll say about cautioning mechanics. Think about it this way, right? If you identify the caution correctly, it's the game needs it, the player needs it, you give it, and you don't take the time to manage the player and manage the situation. You just throw the card in the air, they're walking away, they don't even look at it. Who cares? Leave me, whatever it is, right? It's like the difference between buying like a Ford F-150 pickup truck versus like a Toyota Camry sedan in terms of gas mileage, right? So you want the best gas mileage possible out of this investment, this yellow card, right? You don't want the Ford 150. You throw the card in the air, they let them manage the situation for you. You're not going to get the gas mileage out of it, and you might end up with 2 or 3 more or 4 more yellow cards that you could have prevented with strong or more patient and practical management and thoughtful misconduct mechanics. So just think about that. What's my gas mileage? What am I getting out of this? And so again, identifying it and giving it is half the battle, but managing the situation is arguably more important in many situations. Here's a good one. Don't make important decisions when you're angry. I think that's a good piece of advice for everything in life, but it's really easy, especially on video, to see when the referee's angry. So, and when you're angry, you're not thinking. Really hard to be really thoughtful and keep your options open and be effective. So, maybe there's techniques, taking a deep breath. I don't know, maybe some of those other calmness techniques that others might share, but you really want to never come across as being angry, and you certainly don't want to be making decisions when you're angry.
Well, if I may,
Sure.
when I have to deal with that type of behavior, usually what I do is I start breathing and I start listening to my own breath while I'm breathing. I kind of listen to myself. So by the time I get to where I need to get to, I'm already calm and I look calm, and that's been helping me for past 25 years.
Yeah, breathing is you would be surprised how often in life we forget to breathe.
Yeah, take your time breathing and actually count it. 1, 2 in your head, and forget about what just happened, because otherwise you take it personal, and that's when we get in trouble, right?
Yeah, and especially when you're managing players or a coach or something, or you're giving a misconduct. I mean, you're trying to reset the player and reset the game. Now, red cards, if there's a violence and you put the red card up right away, that's fine. Get them off. Who cares? That's fine. I'm talking about when you're doing a management technique around a caution, you're trying to modify behavior. We want you to use good sense, not common sense. Common people don't become referees. We need really thoughtful people and using the very best judgment and best sense possible. We always want to start the game under control. That's why you want to be there early and you're not scrambling or running from your card. You want to make sure the protocols are filed. You want to make sure the timelines are followed. And anytime you restart a game, you want to make sure you're under control. You yourself are under control, in addition to the situation around you. We want to keep the game under control, and we want to finish this under control. So this is my this is the last piece of this presentation. I'll go to quickly on the college assigning piece next. I typically say good luck, work hard, and have fun, and then in 2020 we're going to add stay safe, right? And so really the crux of this was really to get you to always be thinking, always be thinking, always be thinking. And if you do that, that will increase the likelihood that you will become an effective referee. Those are just some ideas of things to think about as we do that. Any questions on that before we go on to how the hell do we assign these soccer games?
Yes, we have a lot of questions. So let's start with someone without a microphone, and he's not related to you, even though he shares your last name.
Yeah.
It says no relation unless John wants to give me more matches. Then yeah, we can become cousins. His name is Keith Collins. He's from Maryland.
No, that's my brother from another mother. I know Keith.
So he's got a couple of questions. One has to do with radios. Since most likely conferences will not use their radios, are we allowed to use our radios as long as we keep it, clean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
To be determined. I think Tambo pointed out that they really don't know just yet. I think there's going to be two things going on in terms of all the safety protocols, and we'll cover some of this in the next presentation I'm going to give in a couple minutes. One of those is actual safety protocols, and the other piece is optics. It may not look safe.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Perception.
to be determined.
Yep. Perception.
Yeah.
All right. Another one. We know Mike. His name is Mark, and he's not Garcia, and he's from PA.
Okay.
And he's not Mark. He's not our Mark. He's a different
Okay.
Mark. This is his question. I kind of know the answer, but I'll leave it up to you. It says,
Okay.
I'm a 2-year college referee.
Yeah.
Says why I'm being assigned only lines. That's his question. I say a couple of things and then you can jump on it. I said number one is so you get to learn the game and to learn the rules.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
John?
so I think so. Let me flip the mindset up around you, right? So I think you're asking the wrong question. So the question, I mean, you can ask that question if you want, but the better question to answer is, why am I only getting this game? Why do I get these games? Whatever. The question to ask is, what can I do to put myself in a position to receive different types of assignments, right? That's the answer, because that is the onus on the investment on your side. I think the best answer is, follow the protocols and the instructions laid out by the different conference assigners. So for example, if Tambo says you got to come to an ECR clinic to work for ECSR, guess what? If you go to the ECR clinic, that will increase your chances of working for Tambo. If a college assigner is or an ISOA or some partnership is doing a spring tournament and some type of training event, and you come to that and you're seen, that's a good thing. You want to put yourself in a position to be seen. Typically, college assigners will not use the fall regular season as the chemistry lab. And again, go back to what Tambo said, there's a lot at stake, especially at the Division I level. I think where you'll see more flexibility is in the spring, when those are basically exhibition scrimmages, and then tournament type events, U.S. soccer, college club, things like that, where different college assigners and college and coordinators spend their time. So for example, we just ran right before we got shut down with COVID, we ran the referees at the Manhattan Soccer Club College Showcase the first weekend in March, and we looked at a lot of referees from a bunch of different areas. We had 5 referee coaches rotating throughout the fields throughout 2 days, or 6 referee coaches, and so we now so people we're not familiar with, we've gotten a chance to see them, and we actually see what they and so it increases the mindset in terms of being to give them different assignments, challenging assignments, or as Tambo said, take a risk that where the conference or the coaches haven't seen that referee before. So I think you got to ask, how do you put yourself in positions to get seen by the right people that you want to work for, and just communicate that.
That's great. Another one, no mic. Statement and a question.
Okay.
Most likely due to COVID-19 and without radios, we may be using beeper flags more often. Question, are you, meaning John, or RWISOA planning or scheduling any clinics for mechanics, referee mechanics, like old-fashioned mechanics?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that, but what I will say is back to basics. This is a good opportunity to get back to basics. I think sometimes we're a little reliant on the technology, and we refereed for many years without any technology. And so, the very basics of mechanics and procedures and teamwork, I think, are really important. So I think going back to very basic type of stuff and U.S. soccer training videos and and reading the FIFA laws of the IFAB laws of the game. Those type of things will be very helpful. We probably could mention that to Lance, I would say, to see if they can incorporate that in some of their training. And Richard, I suspect, knowing you as I do, that when we get closer and NYSOA gets through their summer training and your round of training, you'll probably cover that. And you'll probably cover it in with your new people, if I'm a betting man.
Yes, we did on the
Richard,
13th.
may I jump in here for a second?
Oh, Lance, you're still here. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, of course I'm still here. I'm listening to John's presentation.
Go ahead.
So to piggyback on what John said there, those of you that are listening that are NYSOA members, if you notice on the summer educational series on July 14th, Corey Rockwell is doing a presentation on referee communication amongst the team and the crew. So Corey will be discussing and touching base on standard mechanics and going back to the basics, as well as, using when to use beeper flags and such like that. So, and then you also have Mark Katalesic on July 7th. It's talking about best practices for effective communication using our devices, headsets and beeper flags, but he will also be discussing best practices and back to basics on there as well. So you'll have two opportunities on July 7th and July 14th to hear a little bit about that.
Tremendous.
Great.
Excellent.
That's July 7th and July 14th. Go to the NYSOA website, nysoa.com, and sign up for those. And just a quick thing while we at it, RWISOA has scheduled a practical training session related to this, going back to the basics, where we're actually going to cover some of those points where, game management is going to be a little bit difficult. So we are planning to do some stuff the second week of August. If that answers the question. All right. Who else? We have someone else here with another question. Let's see. Okay, no questions for that. No more questions right now.
All right.
Yep.
Keep going.
We can keep on going. Do you wanna watch that video real quick? The one
Oh, your video?
Yeah. Why
Yeah,
not?
sure.
Throw myself under the bus. Why
Yeah.
not? Because
Is this the video I'm thinking about?
It is. It
Okay.
is.
Good.
I don't have
I
a
think I'm in it.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. You can describe it. 21 seconds left.
This is the championship game.
Yeah, 21 seconds left. We all know we have a red card coming out. Minimum. The good thing is we calm things down very quickly. We got lucky on that. You were there.
I was. I actually had the best view of it. I was standing right at the halfway line next to the commissioner.
And there's the commissioner right there. As a matter of fact, picking up a bottle of water.
No,
Right?
he's the AD.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
the AD. Ronnie.
So go ahead. You can talk about it.
Yeah, so if you rewind it to the very beginning, I think the problem we have here is we have, if I remember correctly, we missed that right there.
Okay.
That's a red card, right? Boom.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't give that red card, did we, if I remember correctly?
Nope. And there is a reason for that.
Yeah, and so what I would say here is, in this situation, Richard is coming in as the referee. The person has the very best angle on all this is who? The fourth official, the alternate, if we call it an NCA, right? And the alternate basically had no information, and that player ended up escaping everyone's awareness, and we have no red card, right?
Correct. There was no red card shown. There were 2 yellows.
Yeah.
One for the holding and one for unsporting behavior for
Yeah,
showing.
you didn't. You actually didn't. I don't think you. I didn't think you had the elbow, if I remember correctly.
I didn't have the elbow. I didn't have the contact.
Yeah.
But the fourth official and the AR1 had the contact. The problem was right there. I'm asking, give me the number.
He lost
And
the player.
Yeah, and the answer is I forgot.
Yeah.
And the
And-
problem
and-
was there were two players that looked exactly the same, 17 and 12. So he's like, give it to one of them, and then we go from there. And the problem was, well, both teams were playing the tournament, the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Both teams qualify. So if we shoot a card for the heck of it and it's the wrong card, then we're in trouble because the player's still going to play. So when things can go wrong, when you least expect it, they all go wrong all at once, right?
Yeah.
No matter what you do to manage everything, sometimes with 21 seconds left, it was not a KMI. It had no change with the outcome of the match. It was a 2-0 game, but we didn't do it right,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. So.
Yeah, and the issue, I think, when we talk about teamwork, always consider the angles of your teammate. But I should have said as well, consider, if you're not the referee, the angle you have and whether the referee has it or not, because that's information that needs to be given. And in this case, Richard did not have the red card to 12. I think 12 on green, right? And so if he gives you a 12 green red card, we're good. No questions asked. Off we go.
So the funny thing was, both teams were happy with the decision, even though it was not technically was not the right decision.
Right.
Right. And they thought that we were doing that because both teams were going to play the following week for the NCAA tournament. And the truth is, we were all upset because we didn't get the right call. We didn't make the right decision.
That's right. And effectively, 12 green should not have been playing in the NCAA tournament in that first game.
Correct.
So.
And then we had a 30-minute discussion after the game. How can we make it better? And you give the answer while you were doing your presentation earlier, right? The same answer. What we came up with the same conclusion, right? Which was, what was the answer?
The answer is you can't, or it's too late.
Well, the answer right there was show it quick. Get the red card.
Yeah, quick red. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, quick red card there.
Just put the red card up, and somebody's gonna go home, right? Even though we don't know who it is, we'll figure it out after. Once you show the red card, everybody knows who it was.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this was a really difficult match to officiate. Division II conference final. Boy, whew, good luck. It was well officiated up to this point, and where we failed was we didn't eliminate the violence. We let it go. And so that's where, when you see violence, you really have to make that mental note and make sure that information is given to the referee. They maybe not right away. They may not be ready for it right away, but that information has to be given to the referee when you see violence. So.
Yep. So if this is one of your referees, not me, one of your referees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're always thinking, if I messed up and I'm on the tape, am I gonna get games? Am I not gonna get games? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Can you some sort of give him your thinking process as an assigner when you get these videos? What goes through your head and what makes you keep the referee on the pool, and what brings him down, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So we're not a punitive approach group here, right? Because to a certain extent, most of the Division III and Division II stuff is there's a lot of development that goes on, especially with up and coming officials, right? What I would tell you is, and this is a slide in the next presentation, is when something goes wrong in a game, we do not want to hear about it from the commissioner or the athletic director or even the coach. We want to hear from you after the match. And the reason is, if that's a problem, we can deal with it. If I get a call the next morning from the commissioner and I have no idea what we're talking about, that's a surprise. Can't deal with that, can't support you. I'll give you a perfect example. It happens to be the same team here in Orange. Referee made a penalty kick decision and a red card decision, and should have been a yellow card. It was a tackle on the ball in the penalty area. And referee called me right after the game, right? And I watched in this league, this conference, I got the access to the live stream. I watched the video right away. I said, yeah, here's what we got. This is what I'm thinking. Tell me what you're thinking. We worked through it. We had the evaluation, the assessment right there. No problem. I know the coach would be calling me or texting me or something. So you know what I did? I called him an hour later. I said, hey, just so you know, I saw the red card, talked to the referee. Here's why he got it wrong. Guess what? No problem. So believe it or not, we try to have working relationships, and a lot of that is trust, right? And so when a mistake is made, it does nobody any good to say no, there was no mistake there. And so that's the way we approach it anyway with our commissioners and whatnot, and they really appreciate that approach because they know that we're human beings and sometimes we make mistakes. And I think the bigger issue is, you know, why did we make the mistake? What led to that? And they understand that that's what we focus on from a development standpoint. So the referee, you know, will hopefully mitigate or reduce the risk of making that same type of mistake again based on this experience, right? So bad experience can also be a really good learning experience, and it doesn't need to be the end of your referee career or anything like that. So I think the important thing is being open and honest between referee and assigner, and then that allows us to be open and honest with commissioners, ADs, coaches, whatever.
Yeah, so just own it. You know, you made a mistake. You made a mistake.
We're in the integrity business. We're in the trust business, right? And you know, if you're gonna sit here and say you've never made a mistake, or if you can promise that you're not gonna make a mistake in the fall, then I probably can't use you because your integrity is out the window. Of course, we're gonna make mistakes. We want to minimize the risk, mitigate the risk of making mistakes and key match incidents, and hopefully we save those mistakes for throw-ins at midfield.
Yep, definitely. Someone has a question about this video, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Hi, are you with us? Mr. Ravi? Let's see. Nope,
Yeah.
no mic. Yep, no mic. Well, he's got a question. Let's see if I can read the question. All right, will this situation be, well, you're allowed to use video review for this situation? That's basically the question.
Is Lance on?
Is video review was ready to use on this game? Can we use it for this situation? Lance,
I'm on,
you there?
John. Yeah, I'm here.
Can you answer that?
So first you have to know what you can use video review for.
Right.
Right? So what can we use video review for? One of those is violent behavior. So, and a fight.
Right.
So in this case, the actions of the player, does that constitute and define violent behavior? My opinion, and the NCAA's opinion based on last year, yes.
Right.
Because you had a headbutt and you had an elbow to the face.
Right.
So you could use video review here. Also, identification of misconduct.
Right.
You can also, if you know you have a red card, but you just don't know who the red card is on, you can go to the monitor to review. There was a similar situation at Clemson last year regarding denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity by handling. They knew the referee crew knew it occurred. They just couldn't see the number. So they went to the monitor and they determined who it was and they gave the red card. So either way, in this case, yes, video review can be used.
And it's still the field level requirement.
Still has to be at field level, yes. So you can't
Yes.
go in the press box or anything like that.
Sadly, we did not have that available to us.
I don't know
Well,
many
it's fine.
V2s that do to begin with.
It's funny because that's one of the things that we said. We were talking while we're trying to figure out who it was. If we had the video, we can identify who it was. Just throw a car up in the air to anybody and then go review it. But we didn't have
Well,
that luck.
it's funny because when there is a situation when there is video review and I'm talking to a commissioner or a coach or an AD, that's the first thing I say. I'm like, here's what we missed, here's why. I said, but you should be aware, if you had video review available, this could have been reviewed and fixed on the field. But they're not there.
Yep. All right. So that's going to put us into the next topic. I'm going to give you the power back.
And so, by the way, let's just point out, Richard, this was a conference final game. In theory, was it 2 years ago? I can't remember. In theory,
2018, I think it was.
yeah, this is kind of a big miss at the end of the game, right?
21 seconds left. Yes.
Yeah, and how many games did I take away from you from the next year?
Four more finals.
Right. The point is,
Not taking away.
Actually, I think there's a little bit of a CONCACAF approach here too, right? Isn't the CONCACAF assessment form? They rate you outside of a major mistake too, right? If you didn't make this mistake, they give you 2 ratings, right? So
Correct. They give you a rating based on what you would have scored without the missed critical match incident, and then they give you a rating with it missed.
right. And so the last, what I'll leave on just this clip is that, and this is where I really believe my own BS, right? So this is college soccer. These are student athletes. This is this is academia, right? This is supposed to be a learning environment for everybody. And I truly believe, and Mark, my partner, truly believes that, learning situations for referees is equally important in this environment. And we always, again, that's why having that open, honest communication, that approach with the commissioners and stuff is very effective for us, because we tell them, like, oh, this is what we saw. We can't, this is not an easy, this is a tough one for us to support. We think a mistake was made and here's why. And this is the learning points for the referees, and that's totally accepted because we're in the academic environment. This is, hard for them to say, well, geez, this is kind of why we're out here for. So learn from your successes and learn from your mistakes, right? So.
Well, and the other thing is, and we said this throughout the whole webinar today and for the past 12 weeks, you need to be open to criticism and use every game as a teaching moment, right? Learn from it. I've been using this clip. I used it about 20 times since 2018.
Right.
And it's about getting better, right? It's about getting better. So don't be afraid out there. Don't try to hide. Just show it. Before you go into this, just a quick thing for Lance, since he's still here. The greens aren't coming out this year, correct? The green uniform. And the second question is, are we ever going to have a women's fit uniform for NYSOA? Just real quick.
I'll answer those in chronological order that they were asked. Number one is there's been no discussion of a new jersey color to be implemented. Zero discussion. And number two, yes, there has been discussions. There was discussions prior to the new uniform being released 2 years ago. Unfortunately, a lot of that is based on demand. So the more demand that we receive, or not we, but OSI receives for a women's cut, and the more feedback that they get, the sooner that a women's cut will be available. But that is something we are working on with them to expedite.
All right, just to add to that, RWISOA is hiring women referees, female referees, so contact us. and 2 female referees on the call. Start shooting emails to us. I tell them that you want
There you go.
them. John, the floor is all yours.
All right, so I think we're running late, so I'll try to get through this quickly. So this is just giving you a couple of slides here that give you some insights to how college assigners or conference assigners think about the world. And so what are we looking for, right? At the end of the day, we're looking for professionalism on the field and off the field. So before and after the match. Now I'll argue that probably this year, professionalism off the field is going to be even more important because of all the procedures that are going to be put in place with COVID, and in terms of fulfilling your duties. We talked about this before: knowledge and proper application of the NCAA rules and conference protocols. If you don't know them and you don't apply them, we just can't use you. And again, it has nothing to do with my view of your refereeing ability. We can't take that risk and put the student athletes at risk. You know, we're looking for soccer IQ or refereeing IQ, your feel for the game, your experience, and how you're building on that experience. We understand people will build, that are building on their experience base, lower in the experience side of the coin, but we're looking for that type of experience. So, like Tambo said, we take a look at the referee and we take a look at the matchup, and sometimes we adjust accordingly depending on we might feel that this game needs an experienced person, where this game needs someone that's a fantastic athlete to keep up with everybody that is up and coming, is just going to knock their socks off. So these are the types of things we look for. Movement and fitness is huge, right? And so the word that I keep using nowadays is movement, because in pro, that's the only word we're allowed to use. We're not allowed to assess fitness at pro. And effectively, if you're not moving, you're struggling with your fitness, right? And movement is so important for getting the right angles, ability to manage players, ability to manage yourself and keep yourself in tune with the match, reading the game, all those things. So movement and fitness, right? So again, if you just want to be a statue and stand there and just watch the play around you, that's probably not what we're looking for. Here's a fun slide. 10 things that don't require talent, right? Everyone's seen this in some way, shape, or form. And so I made one change to the first one, which is being on time. And in our world, being early. If you're on time, you're late, right? So, you got to be early. You got to be there. If you're told to be an hour ahead of time, you need to be there an hour ahead of time. I can guarantee you, especially at the Division I level, if a match starts late because a referee is arriving late or something like that, that is a huge problem. Especially many of those matches are televised, ACC matches for Tambo, and also many of them are live streamed. At the Division III level, also important, and especially there's costs that are involved with managing these things. And actually, some schools, charge you to watch the match, right? So they log into the match, they want to see the match. Or there's the field is being used for multiple sports that day or something. So really being on time, work ethic, effort, body language, energy, attitude, passion, being coachable, huge, huge, huge. If you're not coachable, I always tell the coaches that we're no different. The referee assigners, we're no different than the coaches. We are building a bench. We're finding referees that are capable, effective, and that are coachable, and will continuously get better and stronger. Going extra, doing the extra mile, more times than not, at every level of soccer. I think everybody on the phone call can attest to some situation where there was a problem, whether it was a youth game or a tournament or something, and that the field marshals, the coaches, they couldn't figure it out, but the referees figure out a way to figure it out, right? Even when it wasn't their job. So. Being prepared, right? Again, I can't emphasize enough, especially working at the higher levels, doing your homework, making sure you understand the matchups, these types of things, right? Looking at the box score from last year's game with these two teams, those types of things. Okay, conference protocols, off-season, preseason training initiatives, requirements. If the conference assigner tells you to do something, because we want you to do this and this is what the conference wants, then you should do that. If you decide you don't want to do that, then you should not be upset when you're not being given the assignments that you think you should be given. So Tambo wants you at an ECSR clinic. Guess what? You want to work in the ACC, you should be at an ECSR clinic. If our group tells you to do something, we expect you to do it. If you want to work and be one of our top producers, in terms of assignments. I will tell you that our group specifically is a little hands off right now, only because we made the strategic decision last year to publicly come out and partner with RWISOA. I think we were one of the first conferences or signing groups to do that, right? And boy, I couldn't be prouder of the work that Lance is doing, and his successor now, and Richard is doing. I really don't have to do very much, which is good. This is how it's supposed to work. So you take advantage of the resources. This is going to be huge this year. You got to be proactive administratively. I don't know what the answer is going to be exactly, but I'm going to guess that you're going to have to check in with the game manager 3 days ahead of time and have some type of protocol communication or something as we're doing this. There's no. I think Lance said earlier, if you're the person that really keeps up your availability, is really thorough about that, this is the year to do it. I'd say the same thing. If you're that person that is proactive administratively, this is the year to do it, right? I will also tell you, just outside of COVID, there's times when there's discrepancies on game times. We have a day game and the website has a night game. A lot of times the referee is the one that figures that out and alerts everybody. So this is really important, and this is what adds to the trust level for conference assigners to put you in that leadership role or take that assignment. We talked about this earlier, reporting issues after the match. You got a red card or something weird's going on, we need to know about it. We want to hear from you before we hear from somebody else. And that's twofold. We're prepared to deal with the conference assigners, the commissioners and the admins or whatever it is, but more importantly, we want to be able to be available to help walk you through the situation, and provide a listening, lending ear, and provide some advice and some options and some thought processes. You would be surprised at the number of games and incidents that I can assess without actually having seen any of the game. If you're a good listener, you've been doing it long enough, like me, a lot of times we can help referees get through this just by asking and directing them with the right type of questions to be thinking about. So have that open, honest communication. If we don't hear from you, we're assuming everything is good. There's going to be some 2020 specific protocols. I got to tell you, if you can't follow these, the conferences will tell us to remove you, and there's nothing we can do about that. It is. I don't want to say it's a matter of life and death, but this is as close as we get to life and death in terms of allowing athletes to return to play this fall. It is going to be an absolute privilege to actually have a soccer game and to be a part of it. So please, when these protocols are finalized, if it's something you're not comfortable doing, you don't want to do, you got to let us know, because there's no way around that. Doesn't make you a bad person, but not following the protocols really puts us in an awkward situation, and now we have an integrity issue with the conference. Turnbacks. Tambo talked about this briefly, but let's just talk about turnbacks for a second, right? We need to start with the premise. Well, I'll just tell you, I think, we have a pretty good reputation about being, working through these type of issues. But at the end of the day, most turnbacks are avoidable, right? In addition to be a good manager of everybody else, you need to be a good manager of yourself. A college soccer referee assigner is managing hundreds, if not thousands, of officials, and you are managing yourself, right? So anytime you have to turn back a game, you really got to ask yourself, what did I do wrong here? What did I miss? What did, I made a mistake somewhere along the line, right? Oh, I forgot I have a wedding I have to go to. Yeah, you should know, but these are the kinds of things, right? Obviously, if your work schedule changes or you have a family emergency or something changes, that's fine. We understand that. But really, please, do everything in your power to avoid the turnbacks. And I'll give one piece of advice here. If you're using multiple assigning systems, so if you're using Arbiter or I don't know, whatever Paul uses and whatever Rachel Wu uses or whatever it is, let's say you have 3 or 4 of them, and you get an assignment from Paul or Rachel or even us, right? Before you accept the assignment, close out your availability in all the other assigning systems, then accept the assignment. Because that'll prevent the, oh, I forgot to block the date out, I just got an assignment 2 days ago. The other real trouble with someone is I double booked myself, right? It's all avoidable, right? And trust me when I tell you, we're dealing with, the really unfun part of being a conference assigner is dealing with all the changes and between the schools and the referees, and that just, we get to halfway through the season and we all look in the mirror like, why do we do this again? This is awful. Why do I hate myself? So help us there if you can. Manage yourself. Open, honest communication is always good. You make a mistake, that's fine. Let's be honest about it. Now, you have an opportunity to go do a game that you think is better for your referee development. So if you get the call and say, hey, John, you have me doing an AR2 in this match over here, but Tambo has offered me the middle of the Maryland versus North Carolina men's game. I am going to tell you, that's awesome. Go do that game. Good luck. Let me know how it goes. I'm rooting for you. But what we're looking for you is as much notice as humanly possible. And you're understanding that you've created this problem for us now. And, it's not easy to go to the commissioner or the athletic director like, hey, how come this guy got taken off the game? Or why this referee, got taken off? And we say, oh, well, they got pulled for a Division I game. We have to be very careful and sensitive about that. But what we do ask is, if you have an opportunity like that, take 5 minutes, call a friend, call a couple buddies, send an email and say, John, I got this opportunity to go work this match for Rachel Wu and or Tambo or whatever. By the way, we're all friends. It's fine. But I have these 2 people that are available to take my spot. Should you choose to use them? That gives me a solution. I could take that solution or I could go do something else. But at least you're not just dumping it onto us, right? And the worst is when, the night before, it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot to have my son's birthday party tomorrow. Right? I've had that before. And it's like, yeah, I can't go. And that's not helpful. So I think if you're just very proactive in this, you can really mitigate this problem. And then the turnbacks really be, kind of more rare situations that are family or emergency or work related, or you have a real referee opportunity. And we want you to take that opportunity. Because you'll be a better referee when you come back to work our matches. And honestly, it's our job to build our bench. So when that hole opens up, that'll give an opportunity for someone to step in. Maybe that first or second year NISO official that hasn't had that many assignments. And all of a sudden, they're getting put the battlefield promotion, right? So please be thoughtful about all this stuff. Years and years ago, I don't know if we have any old people that are Seinfeld fans. There was a skit where Jerry Seinfeld goes to the rental counter, the car rental counter, and he had the reservation, and they didn't. They lost his reservation. They gave his car away, whatever it is. And his line is, anyone can take the reservation, but it's keeping the reservation that is what's important. So anyone can take the assignment, but it's keeping the assignment and acting with integrity is what's really important and says volumes, right? We won't suspend people. We won't do all those types of things. But, if you start acting inappropriately or unethically, you shouldn't be surprised when you start working your way out of the assignment rotation. And trust me when I tell you, we know. We know a lot more than you think. And we get calls from assigners saying, hey, you got this person or whatever, and so we will go out of our way to help each other, especially when it's an opportunity for you. But please be thoughtful. Lance, did I hit it? Is that? Are you in agreement with that?
Of course, especially when it becomes to a higher level game. Of
course, yeah.
If Tambo assigns one of the new guys a whistle for the first time at a Ivy League game, and he was assigned to run a line in a D3 game, obviously you're you'll tell them, yeah, congratulations, don't worry about it, I'll find somebody.
Yeah.
But the
Work
key
with
is to be open. Don't lie, just be open, tell the truth.
Be open, work with us, help us find a solution, right? Okay. All right, so we talked about that. All right, so this is not set in stone. I'm giving you some examples of things that are being talked about by different commissioners. So I work with 8 commissioners, right? And I've had different, there's no 2 that are the same in terms of what's going on. So I think you're gonna see possibly some of these things come into play. So going back to my slide about planning for the unexpected, these are the types of things that, you know, you might not expect to come into the season, but let's start planning and thinking about them, right? First one, there's talk about referees taking their own temperature and self-reporting that prior to the match. Now, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. It could look something like, hey, take your temperature every day, keep a log, and you'll submit that to the game administrator or the home team athletic trainer, and they're looking for trends, and then they might take your temperature when you arrive. I don't know, but these are things. You know, the temperature is an indicator, one of the only indicators or few indicators we have right now. So this is something that's being talked about. Wearing masks before and after the match. So when you get out of your car, up until you walk out on the field to actually blow the whistle, so pregame inspections and those types of things, you probably could take it off for warm-up, but they might ask you to wear masks. So if you're one of those folks that's like, I'm not wearing a mask, you're not going to follow the protocol. You got to do us a favor and let us know that you're going to just take a leave of absence, because we cannot have that this year. We cannot put these student athletes at risk in reality or optically. There's just too much at stake for these universities. They're taking a risk putting athletes on field. I think you all need to understand that. Social distancing before and after the match. So we're probably not shaking hands with coaches. Maybe we're giving them a friendly wave from a distance. I suspect that the schools do not want to provide locker rooms. Again, they're trying to minimize the contact with different individuals and the deep cleaning that has to occur afterwards. So you should be prepared that we're not arriving in khakis and polos this year. Be prepared that you're changing, either arriving as is or in your uniform, or you're changing in a bathroom or in the back seat of your car or something like that. I also suspect they want to cut down or eliminate the college giving water or other refreshments. So this might be more like you go into work at a tournament environment where you bring a Sunday game or something. You're bringing your own stuff this year. Now, again, these are possible protocols. I'm just wanting to give you a sense of the types of things that are being talked about. This will all be finalized by your conference assigners. NISO will probably come out with some protocols and some medical data and things like that. We're going to watch what NWSL and MLS does with the pro officials coming up. The difference is they have a full medical team for the pro officials, and they're going to be brought in 5 days ahead of time, and they're going to be monitored. They monitor their health every day anyway. They're going to add temperature to it now, probably. We're not going to have that luxury. So there's going to be some hybrid of different ideas on what to do here. But I wanted to just give you a list of some of the things. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have national anthems this year. I certainly would expect we don't have handshakes after the game. Anybody that's been refereeing long enough remembers this during SARS. I don't know, however many years ago that was, when we eliminated handshakes.
That's right.
Right. Again, it's going to be a real privilege to be part of a soccer game, and just getting out of your damn house and getting on the field. So please be very mindful and very thoughtful about following whatever protocols are given to you, and let's be prepared for everything. Let's prepare for the unexpected. Again, friendly reminder, everything we do in college soccer, the emphasis is on student. When we talk about student athletes, we're talking about students first. Risk and safety management is paramount to the conference and the institution. They could really care less if you miss a penalty kick. Trust me, this year they want to get through this thing with all the children being safe, all the kids being safe, and the officials, all the participants. Follow the rules, follow the protocols. I can't stress that enough. Campbell can't stress that enough. Lance can't stress that enough. Richard can't stress that enough. It's really that simple. That's it for me, Richard.
Great, great. We got some questions.
Go ahead.
But before we go into the questions, just to a quick review of everything you said, right? Availability, right?
Yeah.
Number one, open communications, right? With the assigners, with the referees. Training. Not just the physical aspect, but the technical, the tactical, and the psychological aspect of refereeing. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of good clinics from NISOA, from RWISOA, from Pro, from everybody. Just keep feeding information, right? Keep feeding information that's needed. Get to the games early, right? If I got that right, get to the games early, especially now, right? Because you need to go through a lot of stuff. One thing that's going to have to change is the pregame, right? The pregame conference, since we're not being close to each other and having a conversation about what we're going to do for the game. I don't think that's going to work too good. I think the pregame is going to have to change and become like an email type of pregame or phone call or something like that.
Yeah, or just plan it, right? So if you know the setup of the stadium, and you can say, okay, we're going to go in this corner of the stadium away from the players, and this way we can be 6 or 10 feet away from each other and talk to each other or something.
Yeah,
you just got to be thoughtful and plan something. Any of those are a hybrid.
Yeah, correct. So we're going to have to personally create some sort of protocol and communicate. When you're the referee, communicate with your ARs. This is how we're going to do it, right? And make it work somehow, right? So we're in a different world, very different world. Doing the game communication is going to be different. Can't get on top of your AR to ask a question or on top of a coach to communicate something. So we need to be aware of that. The post-game communication to the assigner, how important that is, right? And now more than ever, we need to, we must be in control of the controllables. There are a lot of things that we can actually control that we take it for granted, right? Because we have all this technology, but now more than ever, we actually need to be on top of things. Like for an example, you assign a lot of D3 games, right? I don't know if they may play in the school, they may not play in the school, but we know some of these places, like you said, they use it for multiple games. So if they have a scheduled time, a kickoff time and an end time, like it or not. So we need to know that, like when the lights are going to go off. If the lights are going off at 10 o'clock, we need to make sure that we start our game on time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So more than ever, we need to be in control of our controllables, right?
Yeah, especially when you're playing at a public park and you're not on campus.
Exactly, and we need to be aware of our surroundings with all this craziness. So just to touch on what we're doing with the practical training session, right? I'm actually going to bring Sam in. Let's see if Sam, if I can get him from Metro, New York Metro. Sam, how are you?
Hey, Richard. How are you?
Good.
How are you? Hey, John. How you doing?
Hey, Sam.
Actually going to say something.
How's everything going?
Well, ask me on July 30th. I don't know.
I'm just going to say it. I said it publicly. RWISOA has been in communications with the New York Metro and with Mick Hudson to put together a clinic, right? We haven't decided on the dates or anything like that, but the main reason for the clinic, the practical clinic, is to go over all these protocols and all these changes, right? So Sam, I just wanted to bring you in so a little bit about Metro and everything, and let everybody know that we're working together. This is not a RWISOA thing or a Metro thing or Mid-Hudson thing or even Jersey. I'm actually going to contact the Jersey chapter across the river because we do have a lot of referees going back and forth, see if we can work together and put something together. But Sam, the floor is yours if you want to say something.
Yeah. I just want to follow everybody what said that this 12 weeks has been just a tremendous wealth of resource for the college referee, for any referee, any soccer referee for that matter. And I just want to thank you and your organization, and as well as obviously the NISOA Foundation that made this possible, as well as everybody that's behind the scenes. from Lance, and obviously to assigners like John and Tambo. I mean, to take the time out of their schedule to sit with us and give us the wealth of resources and knowledge and pointers and practical nuances and things of that sort is just so valuable that it's worth a Friday night in early summer. So I just wanted to commend you on putting this together. And like you said, I look forward to putting together something for the regional chapters that we can get together, and obviously makes it easier for the presenters to be in one location, or even if we have to do it virtually. This way we can get everybody, it's one family, as you said. So I look forward to that, and look forward to hearing from you guys as far as anything that comes across the way, and to keep our membership alerted as to the latest. So I wanted to say thank you to you, Richard, and your organization, and thank to everybody who's participated, who's given their time to give us this valuable wealth of knowledge. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Sam. So we are going to do our thing, and hopefully we'll be able to do work with you, John, and the ECC and
Yeah, no, so the ECC is thrilled, and the CACC and all our conferences, especially the Metro New York ones, Skyline and Cooney and everybody. So we're all excited to. I will just say this. I do have to say this. There was a general concern about the health of NYSOA a couple years ago in terms of the direction the organization was going and the relevance of that organization. And I really tried personally to work with different leaders to try to, provide some advice on how to partner with conferences on referee development and training and education and things like that. And the work that Lance has done is unbelievable. And all the people that are on this call, if you're not a member of NYSOA, I really would encourage you to think about it, because the people that have been brought in even at the local level, all the work that Richard has done and been a leader and probably what chapters want to be doing or should be doing, and the work that Lance has done. And we just brought in Amanda Ross, I think, to be I just talked to her last night to give her my feedback, to be the director of assessment now. All the real relevant names that have been coming onto these webinars and what Lance and NYSOA has planned for the summer. It's unbelievable the turnaround and the direction this program is going in now, and I couldn't be happier as a conference assigner. And I'm really glad that I didn't give up and I said, no, we got to partner with NYSOA. And so I'm really thankful for all the work that you've done, Lance. So thank you.
yeah, Lance and Tori and everybody else behind the scenes, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's been great. All right, anybody else have any questions for John? Actually, Lance just left. He sent us a private message. He's got to get up very early.
Yeah.
So
well, of course he does. He works for CONCACAF. He's probably so. But listen, Richard, it was a real pleasure to be a part of this, and thanks for the pressure of letting me be the last speaker of this ridiculously awesome group of seminars.
No, thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you're doing within the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, and Pennsylvania, and where else?
Yeah.
Maryland, all those conferences that you assigned. Thank you, and the way you treat the referees is amazing. You're one of the key things, and for everybody that's listening to the call, still over 100 on the webinar and over 200 on Facebook. John and Mark, again, if you talk to them, they'll listen to you. All right, you're not gonna be penalized. All right, if you get a better game, just let him know ahead of time, and guess what? Tomorrow you're gonna get 2 games from him. So thank you for everything you do. Right.
I thank you.
And again, thank you everybody. It's been great. 12 weeks of intensive learning, and now we have NYSOA doing their thing. So, and they're gonna start tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, Richard, one last shameless plug. So folks in the Metro New York area, Connecticut, New Jersey, North Jersey, and then also in Maryland, DC, we have schedules. We're getting schedules slowly, and so really over the next 30 days, we're going to be plowing through assignments. So if everyone could check those assignments, make sure their availability is up to date, address the assignments when you get them, that would be really helpful. We waited in those areas specifically because of concerns over COVID. We were trying to save the conference money if there wasn't a season. So we'll be plowing through those assignments over the next 30, 40 days.
So great. Yes, I know you've been you started to assign games now, and everybody just make sure you go to your Arbiter account for MASO and the ECC, and plug in your availability so you can get the games, and just talk. Be an open book, and you get more games. Don't be afraid. One thing that I got from Tambo tonight, out of so many good things, was if a coach says to you, "You're not gonna ever come back here again," his answer was, "Why do you want to go back?" So think about that, right? And like you said, John, if somebody takes a game away from you, forget about that, right? Think about that you getting the games. So that's important.
Yeah, if the coach tells me that, then I just tell him that's no problem. I'll make you a deal. You'll never see that referee again, but all the visiting coaches are going to assign all your games.
So John,
they're fine. They're fine. They'll be fine. The coaches, you just gotta learn how to laugh with them and things.
You have to. All right. So thank you, John. Thank you for everything.
Well, best to everybody.
Best to everybody. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was JohnCollins, MASO, and ECC assigner. Make sure you have your availability ready. So it has been 12 weeks, and I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for everything, and a special thank you to all the presenters. I put together a little video here with all the presenters from the past 12 weeks. You don't have to stay for this, but I felt like I needed to do something for everybody, from World Cup referees to pro referees to Hall of Famers and everybody else to make this 12 weeks great learning opportunity for all of us. Thank you very much for everything.